Am I the asshole for skipping my brother's wedding after his fiance's reckless prank on my husband led to false accusations and family conflict? Thinking about not attending my brother's wedding because his fiance's prank on my husband. I am a 25 female. My husband is 30 male, my brother 32 male, and his fiance 31 female recently came to visit us in our city. My partner and I are new homeowners, and they were staying with us for the first time. My brother's fiancée loves Halloween. She is also a Disney adult and has a childlike side to her, which comes out sometimes. She's just super involved, absorbed when it comes to her interests. Anyway, I'm just sharing this for context because my perspective is that she often gets carried away, and I genuinely feel what I am going to describe was the result of one of those moments where she just took it too far and suffered some negative consequences. She is, however, taking it as a very personal attack. So we disagreed, and the disagreement resulted in my husband cutting their visit short. AKA, they were asked to leave. 31 has made comments more than a few times now, since meeting him, that my husband gives off a dark vibe. She is always comparing him to characters from various books she reads. It's not necessarily criticism. She always explains that they are compliments. Well, I'm not sure anymore. Her reasons for these comparisons are based on his looks, the general vibe he gives off, and his tattoo. He only has one, but it's on his hand. During this recent visit, she mentioned she would love to see someone like him get scared because she can't imagine him getting startled or letting out a scream. Scaring him became her goal during her stay with us. None of us knew about it, not even my brother. The incident causing all the trouble is that she tried to jump scare my husband in the garage. It was dark, and she ambushed him in the garage while wearing a full outfit and mask when he was returning from a run. Well, he didn't let out the scream she wanted. He instinctively reacted by shoving her against the wall. She hit her head and was quite shaken up. Luckily, he realized very quickly by the sound she made that it likely wasn't an intruder. He switched the lights on and pulled her mask off. He told me he was very confused at the moment. Why would she attack him? My husband helped her inside, apologized, made her tea, and then called me. I was out with my brother. When we got home, I asked 31 if she was okay, and I said her prank was stupid to do, because she could have gotten seriously hurt. I don't know if it was what I said that bothered her, or if she was just waiting for her partner to come home, but she launched into crying about how my husband used an excessive amount of force, knowing it was most likely her just doing a harmless prank. In a nutshell, my husband asked her straightforwardly, "Are you implying I intentionally assaulted you?" She hesitated, but chose to say yes, and my husband responded to that with, "Get out of my house." I tried to smooth it, but my husband was adamant. If that's what she genuinely believes, she's not welcome to stay. 31 chose to stick to her accusation. I decided to side with my husband. My brother is angry with me. He thinks I should have tried to do damage control and let them stay by convincing my husband to lean more into apologizing and placating. He thinks this whole thing would have blown over if I'd helped my husband fold. I find this unfair. My brother was counting on me to handle all this, yet he didn't speak up during the conversation or try to talk sense into his fiancée. My husband remained calm the entire time, but he obviously felt insulted by her remarks, and I think that's valid. Why should I have taken my brother's fiancée's side over my own husband, especially when I feel like she was wrong for doing all that, then turning around and accusing my husband of wanting to hurt her? My brother says I was short-sighted and should think of their upcoming wedding, but I think he is the one who needs to get his fiancée to apologize to my husband. Editing to add the text below, in an attempt to answer some things that are getting lost in comments. I would like to clarify. When I meant I tried to smooth the situation, I was not taking 31F's side or doubting my husband in any way. I simply tried to get everyone to consider tabling this until emotions had cooled down. And by those emotions, I mean the hysterics of my brother's fiancée. My husband was calm throughout, although there was an obvious finality about his decision. He made his statement and disengaged. As mentioned, my brother looked to me hoping I'd persuade my husband, but I didn't, so they had to leave. The costume. I mentioned in a comment that I didn't get an opportunity to ask that night if she bought an outfit specifically for this prank, or if it was my brother's Halloween costume. They go to adult Halloween parties, and we're attending one this weekend 2 hours from where we live. It was part of my brother's costume. A mask, like a golden masquerade one but more coverage. It reminded me of the gold jeweled animal masks from Squid Game, or something you'd wear to a Rothschild party in the 70s. And she had on a long robe, cloak with a hood. People asked me to update. I will do that. Please look at my comments too, in case I already answered a question you might have. But I think these two were the ones I saw pop up the most. I'm sorry, I can't keep up with all the comments. I really tried. I will be showing this thread to my brother. Comments. Comment 1. If she hadn't hidden in the dark garage in a hooded costume, none of this would have happened. There's no way he would have known in the moment that it was her, and I believe anyone would have a similar reaction. Frankly, she's lucky she was not hurt more than she was. There's a direct cause effect here, yet she's not accepting responsibility. I think her behavior falls into the play stupid games category. Your husband doesn't have anything to apologize for, and it's offensive for them to try to obfuscate her responsibility. NTA Comment 2. Exactly this. It's one thing to come out of a closet into a well-lighted room, and completely another to jump someone in a dark garage. She's lucky he didn't break her nose or her jaw. Comment 3. I live in Oklahoma. She's lucky she didn't get shot. Comment 4. Texas here. Getting shot is a real possibility. That's beyond stupid on her part. I can guarantee you that I will not be attacked again. Not funny. Comment 5. TA. Your future Siel is deranged. She attacked someone coming into his own home. He reacted accordingly. How would he know it was her? She faithful. Your brother should have told her it's her own fault. Be prepared for more dramatics once they are married, and go low see now. Nothing will ever be her fault. Edited to add. Call your family now and tell them what happened before they spin it, and blame your husband for reacting appropriately. Comment 6. Their relationship dynamics are concerning. You might want to distance yourself from her drama. Update. 19 days later. I got a lot of messages requesting an update. I have never made one before, so I hope I am going about this correctly. To recap my previous post, my 25 brother's fiancé, 31F, decided to jump scare my husband, 30M, in our dark garage, because she wanted to get a reaction from him, and possibly hear him scream. As ridiculous as it sounds, this is the only motive we have been able to get out of her. My husband responded to her jump scare by instinctively shoving her against the wall. Luckily for her, he heard her voice and recognized that it wasn't an intruder. He apologized to her at that moment, helped her inside, and calmed her down. He told me he was gentle and understanding, but once she was seated and started to calm down, he made it very clear to her that her actions were reckless and could have led to serious harm. It's my personal opinion that she didn't like the change in his demeanor and being told off because it meant she was no longer the victim, but the transgressor. In a shitty attempt to get herself out of the hot seat, she decided to accuse my husband of using excessive force, implying that he intentionally assaulted her, even though she was the one who initiated the whole situation. This led to an emotional reaction from my brother and heightened the tension between him and my husband. My husband was zero tolerance about the theatrics, SIL in hysterics, and my brother getting riled up about it. He kicked them both out. You can read the details of the first post here. Update. I tried to talk to my brother multiple times after the incident, but each attempt ended in silence because I refused to give in to his demands. He wanted my husband and me to apologize to his fiancée, starting with me downplaying the whole situation so she wouldn't feel bad about her prank. I hesitated to send him the Reddit post I'd made. Initially, I thought it might work against us to make things worse, but his total inability to reason with me or see the situation for what it was became beyond frustrating, since I couldn't physically deliver a cold hard slap to his face for asking me to be complacent and allowing my husband to be falsely accused of assault. I figured the next best thing would be for him to read all your comments. Following the advice I got here, I tried to get ahead of the situation by informing my parents. My dad, a reasonable and practical man, immediately sided with my husband. His comments were similar to what a lot of people here had said, focusing on how dangerous and reckless the prank was and the ramifications of being falsely accused of assault. My mom, who unfortunately has always favored my brother, suggested we at least hear her out, referring to my brother's fiancée. As vivid as I was about her reaction, I wasn't surprised by it. My dad did try to shut down her skepticism, but she remained on my brother's side for a few days, until I showed them footage from my brother's Tesla, which he had tried to delete. The Sentry thing recorded part of the interaction in the garage, not the jump scare itself, but the aftermath, which emo was more crucial. My husband's account was confirmed. He used a measured amount of force to immobilize her and was prepared to escalate if necessary, which is beyond generous for someone to do in a situation like that, and definitely not owed. Many of you speculated that she might have a fixation, or even a crush on my husband, and I'm starting to reconsider some past interactions with that in mind. I also misunderstood what dark book she expressed she enjoyed, and compared my fiancé to. I learned from comments here that they are actually a subtype of the romance genre. I didn't know she was comparing him to characters in romance novels, because one of the characters I recall her comparing my husband to was from a book about dragons. I genuinely wish I still remembered the names of various characters she's mentioned over the months, so I could satisfy my own curiosity, but my brain glossed over the names during conversations. We have a group chat for the wedding, which includes my brother, my parents, my brother's fiancé, and her parents. In that chat, I addressed the incident, but didn't share the Tesla footage, only mentioned that it exists. Her parents didn't respond to the chat, though I know they saw the message. Later, her mom called mine. Apparently, they had no idea about the prank. It's hard to say whether they believe me or if they've taken their daughter's side after speaking with her. My brother's fiancé and my brother have both extended apologies to my husband and have requested our presence at their upcoming wedding. My parents, trying to keep the peace, have encouraged us to go, saying it's the honorable thing to do. So for the sake of family formality, we've decided to attend. However, my husband has made it clear that we'll be there out of obligation. We will be keeping a distance from them going forward. We haven't explicitly stated it, but there will be no future invitations to our home. Not even for the holiday dinner we had planned before all this happened. My husband is going to minimize all future interaction with my brother's fiancé. I don't think we'll ever trust her again. I'll try to spend some one-on-one time with my brother to gauge where we stand. Our relationship feels strained, and this incident has made me realize that I lost him to her long before this happened. Something I hadn't fully recognized until now. Thanks to everyone for sharing your opinions. A reporter from a news outlet reached out to me, and I remember requesting that if anyone uses my story, I would like them to pass on the following sentiment. I hope that if you share my story, you can help highlight the dangers of ambush-style pranks. These types of pranks create a threatening environment and put everyone involved at risk of serious harm or injury. They are stupid and dangerous. No one should have to feel threatened or be put in a position where their safety is compromised for the sake of a prank. If that's the setup, then it's not a prank. Actions like these will always have consequences, some of which may be irreparable, and no prank is worth the risk of someone getting hurt. Editing to add a little footnote. I understand people get curious and invested, but please consider this my final update. If necessary, I will update again in the future, but it will be unlikely, and I assure you it won't be anytime soon. I got a lot of DMS requesting updates on the previous post, so I thought I'd place this disclaimer here. And another edit to fix the formatting. I wrote this post in my notes app first, which was a dodo move apparently. Sorry, I suck at this. Comments. Comment 1. Still CA. And your SIL is still lucky that all she got was a shove against the wall. Doing dumb shit tends to get people killed more often than not. Comment 2. Please make sure to keep a copy of that video, and if possible, a written statement from your future SIL. She can always backtrack and try to ruin your husband's life with a false accusation. Oop, we have a copy. Comment 3. That's good. I would still be very careful with your whole family. Your husband was attacked, and it seems they are all very happy to keep it. I know you are trying your best, and I applaud you for it, but please never forget they are willing to appease that psycho, no matter the consequences to your husband. Final update. 2 months later, I still get the odd message or notification on this account, which is surprising to me. I always feel bad because I can't feed the interest with a truly juicy update. TLDR, my brother and his partner got married, she is pregnant, and we are no contact. This is the last one from me, guys. I did read some of the books I got recommended that would show me what my husband is being compared to. I mostly did this for entertainment purposes. I think some fans of these books will get mad, but I'll just be honest. These books are not for me. I got up to book 3 in a sotar, although my skimming increased with each book. I made it through a little bit of the 4th one, and that's when my brain just couldn't take anymore. I think my husband was supposed to be Rysan. After reading 3 plus 1/2-ish books, I don't quite see it. I found both Raisin and Fear increasingly annoying as the books went on. I just DNFD. They're not my people. If I had to pick, Azrael seemed a little more like my husband, maybe, based on just loose vibes that I got. I also read Fourth Wing, just the one book, and I won't be reading the rest of the series. I think my husband was supposed to be Zayden. He's actually more of a Liam personality-wise. These were the main 2 books. Anyway, the actual update. My brother and his fiancée got married. She was pregnant. My mom had already suspected, apparently, but the pregnancy was announced during the wedding. The pregnancy has made my parents kind of soften. My mom is distracted about becoming a grandma. It hasn't changed how I feel. I still think it's a mistake that he's marrying her, and I'm worried about him. But I also don't have any intense feelings. It's his life. My husband didn't have to attend the wedding. We all said he could skip it, but he wanted to accompany me. Nothing dramatic happened at the wedding. We did keep it a bit of a distance, so maybe we missed any drama if there was some. I did learn something disturbing from someone who has spent more time with my brother's wife. She had apparently made some disgusting comments about my husband in the past. She had said, he looks like a legend comics character. It feels nasty to direct quote her, so I will just paraphrase. She basically implied he is so essayable, and or would be doing the essay or something. I don't know if any of this has to do with the context of these types of comics. This was all apparently said in a WhatsApp chat, but no proof of the conversation, because the person who told me said she got a new phone and didn't back up her WhatsApp. I don't have any reason to believe she would make this up though. I didn't confront my brother's wife about this comment, because it was said a long time ago, and it just doesn't seem worth bringing up. We have just continued our no contact. Like I said, pretty boring update, but it's truly my final one now that the wedding is over. Comments. Comment 1. At this point, I would go and see. The parents are useless. The husband's reputation is being tainted, and there's nothing Op and the family can do except just accept that's how it is. Loser if you'd ask me. There will be potentially more hideous incidents in future if the husband keeps attending Op's family gathering where the Sil would be there. And I'm afraid it will affect Op's marriage sooner or later, if no see at this point. Ye GK about you guys, but I prefer to prevent than repair. There are some things in life you cannot repair. Comment 2. Wow, that's crazy. Definitely keep your distance from Sil, and maybe put up some more cameras. I pity your brother, because he's in for a rough ride with the person he chose to marry and procreate with, But then again, he doubles down and backs her outrageous claims. Hopefully you can move on without any more issues with the crazy Sil. I would be wary of family dinners or holidays without recording them to protect yourselves. Am I the asshole for cutting off my parents after my mom refused to care for me postpartum? Even though she did it for my siblings? Throwaway account, and my English writing is really bad. Please bear with me. So I, 28 female, am 30 weeks pregnant with my first child and am about to move to another state. And mom has this thing where she takes care of my siblings when they give birth until they recover. She has done it for my older sister and my brother's wife, so I thought that she would do the same thing with me too. But a week ago, she told me that she couldn't, because it is too far away. We got into a fight about the whole thing, and I told her to get out of my house, and now we are not talking. Before you judge me and say that my mom isn't obligated to take care of me, I will tell you that it isn't about mom taking care of me. It was never about that. I am that one child in the family who nobody really cares about. My parents always claim that they love and treat us all equally, but man, is it obvious that they love me a little bit less than the others. I always thought that maybe I am adopted, and that's why they don't care about me that much. Well, I am wrong because I am 100% theirs. It is always about how my other siblings are doing, or how mom and dad are suffering, but it is never about me. It was never about me from the beginning. I rarely celebrate, even if it is supposed to be my day. My birthdays? They rarely celebrated because mom and dad forgot, or they just threw everything in the house and called it a birthday. High school graduation party? Nope. My parents have already wasted a lot of money for my big brother's college graduation party, so they can't do that, but they will make sure to make it up to me. Do you think that ever happened? I will give you a minute or two. If you guessed no, then congrats, you guessed right. Yay. They shared the wedding expenses of my siblings' wedding. But since my husband came from a good family, they don't have to share wedding expenses. Not my words. I have always been the therapist who listens to my mom and dad's rough day, or the one who needs to help mom because my older siblings have a lot of schoolwork to do, or because my younger siblings are too young to do that kind of work. They always tell me that I am a good daughter, but I am never the one who they brag about to their friends. I did everything in my power to make them proud, but my achievements will always be below my siblings. I have tried to talk to them about how I feel multiple times before, but the only thing I get is a hard scolding about how I was getting spoiled. I hated my life until I got out of that house, but I never had the courage to let go of them, thinking that they would change. Well, my mom just proved me wrong. Mind you that my older sister lives a whole ass ocean away from yo. But mom decided that taking a 10+ hour flight to another continent twice was not hard at all. All of a sudden, and taking a 4-hour ride to my home was too much, especially when I am in a place where I don't know anyone except my husband. I am so fucking tired of them putting everyone else above me. So I will make things right between us until I leave, because I don't want to end things on a bad note. And when I get to my new house, I will just cut all contact between us. I don't think that I have the energy to do all of this crap anymore. And besides, I have my lovely husband with me, so I will be all right and build myself a new family where I am truly appreciated and loved for who I am. Note, I am the third out of 5 children. My younger siblings are twins. Comments. Comment 1. TA. Tell her you can't keep in touch. It is too far away. Comment 2. NTA. Yes, I agree with you. Make nice with your mom while you're visiting this time, and minimize contact when you get back to your own home. It could be that your mother wants you to beg and plead. Oh, mommy, pretty please, come help me. I need you. But my reaction is fat game playing. Put your energy on your husband and build a new support network where y'all live now. Comment 3. NTA. Put them on a strict information diet. Stay off socials. Inform your husband and his family that you want nothing posted on social media. Do not let them know when the baby is born or when you go into labor. Do not answer the phone, respond to email, text, etc. Put them on a ban list at the hospital if you have to. Gather more evidence of them singling you out. Then, when asked by others, You give them the full story. Maybe shame will cure them. Update. 3 months later. Hello. First, I would like to thank everyone for their kind advice. I was honestly shocked when I saw all of these messages. I really appreciate it. A lot has happened since my last post. I tried to call my parents, but they were blocked, and I couldn't reach them. But I was determined to get the closure that the younger version of me wanted. So I called my older brother and I asked him if we could meet up and talk about the situation. He told me that he won't meet up with me after what I've done to our mother, and he berated me, saying that I was an ungrateful person and that mom is in a lot of stress and pain because of me. I told him that it wasn't fair for him to just assume that I was the villain and that he couldn't even understand my point of view because they didn't treat him like they treated me my whole life. He knew that they treated me like their personal chef, maid, and therapist for years, but they couldn't even give me the love and attention that I wanted for once in my whole damn life. He basically screamed at me through the phone that I was a piece of trash for saying that, and that mom and dad treated us all equally, but I was just a damn narcissist who can't think about anyone but myself. I tried to talk, but my emotions got the better of him, and I started breaking down on the phone, and he hung up on me. I even started asking myself if I was really the narcissist that my family seemed to think of me. But my husband came to the rescue and helped me through all of this. But the doubt that maybe I was in the wrong still lingered in my head. I guess my brother told my parents that I called him because Dad called about 2 days after that and asked me to meet up at their house. I was about to say no, but I couldn't because his voice was filled with remorse. So I thought that maybe, just maybe, we could get past the whole thing and I could drop the thought of cutting contact even if my mom doesn't want to help out. After like 3 days of talking to my dad, me and my husband went to their house to talk. I thought that it was going to be me, my husband, and my parents talking, but they invited my brother and his wife. As soon as we sat, my dad started talking about how disappointed he was with me and that things shouldn't have led to this. I told him that he was right. Things shouldn't have escalated to where they are now, but I assumed that since mom helped to take care of my sister and my brother's wife, she would do the same. But she just favorited everyone else above me, and it was frustrating. I told them about how I felt for the past years, and I told them everything that I said to you guys. But all of them acted like they didn't care, which honestly hurt like hell. I knew at that moment that I didn't mean anything to them, so why was I fighting to be a part of a family that didn't want me? My husband was going to speak, but I told him not to. Everyone gave their opinions about it, basically blaming me, and then Dad asked me if I wanted to say anything to Mom. I told her that I was sorry, because I didn't want any type of bad blood between us before I close this chapter and move on with my life, but she didn't say anything back, and Dad said that we needed some time cooling off and setting some boundaries, and I guess that was it between us. In the next 2 weeks, we were packing and leaving the state. I didn't tell anyone about where my new house will be. Only once I got there and settled down did I write a long message about everything they did and how I felt, and at the end of the message, I told them that I was completely cutting contact with my parents and older brother. I changed my phone number and blocked all of my family from my social media. And you know what? My life has never been this peaceful in a long time. I am happy about everything, and my baby will arrive any day now. It is honestly stressful, but I love it so much. We hired a helper around the house because why not? Now my day consists of sleep, take a walk, eat some more, have back and hip pains, and repeat, which honestly isn't that bad. Thank you for reading comments. Comment 1. Sounds like you finally choose peace over drama. Wishing you all the happiness with your little one. Comment 2. Yep, sometimes family is just a title. You don't owe them anything if they don't treat you with love and respect. Comment 3. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. You gave them every chance, and they showed you exactly who they are. Now you get to build a family that actually deserves you. Wishing you nothing but peace and joy with your little one. My wife hid that she's asexual. I asked for divorce. She refused and even tried to open the relationship by offering her best friend to me. My wife, 29 F and I, 34, have been married for 4 years. And up until a year and a half ago, things were fantastic. Our marriage began to deteriorate after there was a significant drop in sex between us. Not intimacy, just the actual sex part of the relationship. We would still cuddle and have deep intimate moments talking and just being around each other. But she kept rejecting my attempts at taking things further past kissing. Now we have had no problem communicating, so I made sure to address it early, and we talked and made adjustments. We both made sure to stay in shape. We tried being more adventurous. We went to couples therapy, job counseling, and even tested both of our hormone levels. Everything was normal. Each solution would work for a little while, and then we'd be back to having sex maybe once a month. I asked her several times if she was no longer attracted to me, to which she denied every time. I asked her if I was falling short in the relationship in any other way, to which she said no. Well, about a month ago, she got back from her therapy session and told me that she believes that she's asexual, and that's the reason for her libido being non-existent as of late. I was definitely confused, because we had such great sex for a while in the beginning of our relationship, but her telling me that she's now asexual was heartbreaking, because everything else is great. Obviously, I'm not going to force her to have sex. So we had a long conversation about our relationship, and I came to the conclusion that we should get a divorce. I say because she immediately rejected the idea and said we would figure something out and wouldn't talk to me about it anymore. I didn't know what to say, so I dropped it. Well, 3 weeks go by without sex, and I decided that I have to do this for my own mental well-being, so I filed for divorce and had her served with the papers. Last week, when I got home from work, she was going about the day like nothing was wrong. I asked her if she signed the papers, and she flat out said, "We are not getting a divorce," and changed the subject and acted like things were normal. Obviously, I thought this was crazy, so I stopped her and said I couldn't be in a marriage devoid of sex. And I mentioned that I was being incredibly fair with our divorce. She can keep the house that we bought and paid for with cash. She paid 1/3. I paid 2/3. I'd take all of the debt, which isn't much. We'd split our savings and investments in half, and she can keep 2 of our 3 paid-off cars. I only wanted to keep my sports car. Thankfully, we don't have kids. I love her and want her to be comfortable, and I have no problem starting over since I make a good income. But she won't budge or talk about the divorce. This brings us to 2 days ago. I get home and go to our bedroom and find my wife's friend, 27F, in our bed naked. I immediately shut the door, said sorry, and went looking for my wife. I found her in the kitchen and asked what her friend was doing here, and she said that she was here for me. I put 2 and 2 together and said that I'm not having sex with other women in place of the woman I chose to marry. She was adamant on saying that I could sleep with her whenever I wanted, and that her friend agreed to it. I couldn't believe things would get this far, so I went back to our bedroom and asked her friend to leave. I packed a bag, and I've been staying in a hotel nearby since that night. My wife, her mother, and her sister keep calling me, but I'm just not interested in hearing what they have to say. This feels like a trick. I just want this whole thing to be over. Does anyone have advice? Is this some kind of ploy for alimony? We do have a prenup. Should I just contact my lawyer and try to force the divorce? I'm really uncomfortable with this entire situation. Edit. We talked last night. I'll update when I get home from work. Edit 2. Here's the update if anyone's interested. I'll try to keep this as concise as possible. I feel overwhelmed, so I probably won't bother with another update after this one. I don't know. My wife came to my hotel last night, and we talked about everything. She told me the full truth and what's going on in her mind. A few of you commented on this in the last post, so you were right. She has always been asexual. She and her whole family has known this since she was 16. Apparently, this is the reason why her last long-term relationship of 3 years ended. He broke up with her after the sex between them diminished to being non-existent after the first year. She told me that sex is easier for her in the beginning when emotions are running high, but she still needs to force herself to have it. I knew they broke up due to unresolvable differences, but I didn't ask for details, nor did she tell me. After a lot of apologies and crying, she told me that I was the first person she was able to tolerate sex with for so long, and that she did enjoy it a handful of times. But after a while, she still felt like she was being raped. I broke down after hearing this and started kicking myself for not catching on to any of this. She said she tried her best to please me as much as she could. She still doesn't want a divorce, and she doesn't want the house, cars, or the savings. She just wants me and is ready to do whatever it takes to keep me. She even said that she would sign a post-nup stating this. As for her friend, she was there during her last breakup and helped to support her through it. My wife went to her after I brought up divorce and talked things out. Her friend suggested that she open the relationship for me, but she said she didn't want me sleeping with strange women, so her friend volunteered herself to be the one that sleeps with me. My wife thought this was a great idea, which led to the fiasco at our house. I won't comment on her appearance because it doesn't matter, and I don't blame the friend. My lawyer got back to me. You were all right. I don't need her permission, but I will have to wait if I want to push it through. I asked her why she lied to me this entire time, and she said she was tired of being rejected after revealing she was asexual, so she convinced herself that she would be able to force herself to have sex during the relationship. The hormone testing, the sessions in couples therapy, and all of our solutions was just her buying time to find another way around sex, or give herself enough time to build up the strength to start regularly having sex with me again. Our conversation ended with us holding each other in bed, crying for a couple of hours. No, we didn't have sex. She pleaded with me to hold off on the divorce to look for a solution together and left my hotel room. I'm now sitting alone typing this fucking post. I guess I found out that we don't share everything with each other. Thank you to everyone who has messaged me directly. I'm still trying to get to all of them. I don't know what I'm going to do. Comments. Comment 1. You did right, bro. Let your attorney handle this. Do not have sex with anyone until your attorney says you're in the clear. Oop. That's my only course of action right now. I'm going to look for an apartment tomorrow. Comment 2. Also, why are you offering her so much? If you even have the slightest inclination that she's trying to set you up, then don't just roll over and let her have everything, because that won't be enough for her and her attorney. Comment 3. This OP. I don't see any reason that the judge wouldn't just divide the assets and liabilities, $50.50. I understand wanting to offer her more to get her to sign. But if she's not willing to do that, and you have to go to court about it, you're going to want to tighten up so you have some leverage. Oh, OP. She has been wonderful to me otherwise. I don't feel like she should be punished for finding out who she is. I want her to be comfortable, because she doesn't make nearly as much as I do. I can bounce back with no issue. She'll still have to work to provide for herself unless she marries another high earner or becomes one herself. A fresh start doesn't scare me at all. Comment 4. That's nice of you, but she's being manipulative and sketchy as hell with this latest stunt. You being so nice about it is fair enough. Comment 5. I don't know if she's being maliciously manipulative. Most likely she's terrified of him leaving her and is in denial, or doing everything possible to get him to stay, or both. He says everything is perfect, except for the lack of sex, so she sees this as they can stay together if she provides him someone to have sex with that isn't her. It's not a black and white situation. And while I agree the wife's actions are not appropriate, I think she's acting out of fear and love. Again, that doesn't make it okay. Just that we don't have enough information to say that she 100% is trying to trap him in anything. Update. 2 weeks later, I don't think I can link my previous post, so just go to my profile, I guess, if you care to read the op. I've tried to read every comment message and take to heart what most of you had to say. Also, please stop messaging me. I can't respond to everyone. It's too much. I'll make this as short as possible. After my last update, my wife asked me to meet with her about a week later to discuss things with her. I've been staying at an extended stay since that night with her friend. We met at our house and talked for a few hours. She started off with a ton of apologies for how she acted, her lying about her sexuality, and not taking my sexual needs more seriously. Before I could say anything, she presented a signed post-nup agreement she had drafted with a lawyer stating that she doesn't want anything. The house, the cars, savings, everything. I felt like the biggest asshole for thinking that she was tricking me for more money. I asked her if she was serious, and she told me to take the post-nup with me and sign it when I'm ready. I still haven't signed it. It's in my backpack. I told her that I still think divorce is our best course of action, and that we both deserve to find someone who matches our needs. She still refused and borderline begged me to reconsider. She started crying, and so did I. Seeing her like this was devastating. I told her that finding other women to sleep with me wasn't going to work. What if I develop feelings for them? What if I get one of them pregnant? Do we expect her to get an abortion? She said we'll figure it out as we go along, and to please give her more time to work on other solutions. She set up appointments for sex and hormone therapy, and it's seeing a sex guru. I said that it sounds like we're going through the same things again, but she was adamant and pleaded with me to wait. There were more apologies on both sides, and we kissed for a while before ending the conversation. Then I went back to my hotel that night. A few days later, I tried texting her, but she didn't respond, so I called her dad. I'm avoiding her mother and sister, since they are saying the same things as my wife. Her dad told me that she moved back home and has been holed up in her room since our talk. She called out of work. He told me that she's barely eating, bathing, or talking to him or her mom. He asked me what I was going to do, but I didn't have an answer for him. He just said he understands and said he would be here to talk anytime I wanted to. So I went back to our house and a good portion of her stuff was gone. The whole place feels empty. I've been sleeping in one of the spare rooms. I'm planning on flying to my mother's house in a couple weeks to spend time with my family to decompress from this entire situation. I'm still on the divorce side of the fence, but I guess there's no rush. Thank you to everyone for your insight and concern. Seriously, I know we're all strangers, but most of you have been a huge help to my mental health. Seriously, thank you. Also, my cousin uses Reddit and reached out after he found my last post and asked me to shout him out if I made an update. Love you, Virgil. Thank you for being there for me. I think I'll just make a quick edit to this post once we reach a resolution for anyone that cares. Comments. Comment 1. It's a tough situation, but if having an intimate physical relationship with your wife is important, I think you know what needs to be done. Sucks for everyone involved. Godspeed. Comment 2. Sex in a relationship is like the toilet in your house. It's not the first thing you mention when talking about it, but if it's not working, then it's immediately noticed. Update. 10 months later? Hey everyone. In hindsight, I regret making these posts because I think I received too many pieces of advice. I keep thinking I should have just handled it internally, with just family. I don't regret my decisions. I just wish I gave myself more time to think. Anyway, here's the update. I'll keep it short. The divorce was finalized months ago. Our house was sold along with one of the cars, and my ex-wife is still living with her parents. I had a little more than 2/3 of the proceeds wired to her account, but the last time I talked to her dad, she hadn't touched a dime. I was informed that she checked into a mental health clinic, but I don't know how long she was there or what her current state is. I changed my number, but her dad has emailed me a few times to check on me throughout this last year, which breaks my heart because he's a great man. Him playing both sides of the fence like this really made everything go a lot smoother. Other than not warning me, which I honestly don't think it was his place to, he's been a huge help. I moved back to my home state to be closer to my family. I may leave to go to another state again. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I feel numb from this whole thing. not much of a drinker, so I've been smoking a ton of pot and working out to occupy my mind. To everyone who didn't get a response from me and my messages, I'm sorry, but there were just too many. I responded to as many as I could mentally handle. I think that's it. I can't imagine that there would be any additional questions, but I'll answer whatever I can. Comments. Comment 1. Wow. Hope you both find some type of lasting happiness. You move on. Your ex is hopefully finding some peace. Comment 2. I'm not so sympathetic to his ex-wife. She lied to him for years, misled him, and drew this out and took years of his life away trying to live her version of happiness at his expense. It's unfortunate she's taking it so hard, but what she did to him was cruel and selfish. Comment 3. Do you love her at all? I feel like men are all thinking with dicks, like is there no love if there's no sex? Like how's being a sexual worth a surprise divorce with no discussion? And how you are supported by people on Reddit is just a joke. Love does not equal to sex. And if you're willing to dump the woman you made vows to based on sex, then you don't understand love at all. You won't find love, ever, in anything you find, going forward, is not going to be more than lust. OOP. We tried to fix things for over a year. I understand where you're coming from, but I guess my question to you is, what can you live with and without in a relationship? Money, attraction, respect, intimacy, non-sexual, security. Which one of these are you comfortable with losing in your relationships? My boyfriend admitted he wishes I was still fat after I lost weight, and I'm so pissed to process his hurtful confession. Original post. I, 21F, have been dating my boyfriend Adam, 28M, for almost 3 years now. I feel like some context is needed to accurately describe our situation. When I was 15, my older brother passed away in a car accident, and it threw me into a depression where I became very overweight. He was my best friend, and meant the world to me. Losing him led me into the worst years of my life. A few months after I turned 18, I met Adam. He was one of my friend's older brother, and we hit it off. He's smart, charismatic, and I loved his sense of humor. Adam is also heavy, but he was so comfortable in his skin. It really made me admire his confidence. I couldn't stand to even look at myself in a mirror, so this last year I buckled down and lost a very significant amount of weight, and now I'm even below my high school weight. I've never been this fit in my life, and I feel so good about myself. My 20th birthday was this last Saturday, and Adam and my friends had planned a party for me. Unfortunately, Adam had a family emergency, so he wasn't going to be around for my birthday. I was completely okay with this, and reassured him that it was fine when I drove him to the airport. My friend Andrea recommended that we should instead go to a strip club, and I thought that was an amazing idea. I'd like to reiterate that it would have been a woman's only strip club. The next time I talked to Adam, I told him about the change in plans, and he was very adamant that he didn't want me to go. He said it wasn't that he didn't trust me, it's that he didn't trust my friends. I ended up dropping the subject to not cause him further stress, and we ended up just having the party they originally planned. Adam arrived today, and I felt something was off. Something has been off since I lost weight. I kept badgering him until he finally opened up. We talked, and he eventually told me that we don't even look like we belong together anymore. He brought up an instance where we were at the grocery store a week ago, and a guy was asking me questions about watermelons in the fruit section. It was a casual conversation, but he referred to my boyfriend as my brother, and I quickly corrected him. The guy apologized, said we looked similar, and walked off. At the time, my boyfriend laughed it off and didn't bring it up again. He then said something that pissed me off so bad. He said, "Sometimes I wish you were still big, so no one else would want you." I lost all sympathy and quickly corrected him. I told him, even when I was a big girl, guys hit on me all the time, and just like I always do, I told him I have a boyfriend that I love. He looked dumbfounded when I said this. Elle told him how fucked it was, that he wishes that I was back at the size where I was depressed and hated myself. He told me he misspoke and I'm blowing things out of proportion. We argued more, and he ended up leaving to his brothers to give me space. I've been sitting here, just pissing myself off about what he said. Did he really think I was that unattractive when I was bigger? If so, why did he date me? Did he think I was desperate to be with someone because I was so fat? I just need some third-party advice. Am I overreacting? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, Enor, and he was a 25-year-old seeking out an 18-year-old to date. Trust that when you're 25, you'll see how big a gap that is. He was probably dating someone that much younger than him because girls his age didn't want him, and he thought you'd be easier to control. Even if this wasn't an active thought, the second you took control of your body by losing weight, he was unhappy. A good partner hypes you up when you achieve something you wanted. They don't try to cut you down. This dude is not worth the time of day. Oop. Well, all I know is that his previous relationship lasted 5 years, and it was a girl he dated in college. I never really considered that he had the intention to control me, and I really hope that isn't the case. This is the first comment he's really made that cut me down, but now that I think about it, you are right. He hasn't really hyped me up either. Commenter 2. You are 21 and feeling good about yourself. Maybe it's time to lose about 300 pounds more of dead weight and leave the guy that snatched up an 18-year-old when he was 25 because he thought no one else wanted her. Update 1. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone for giving me their opinions and advice. It really means a lot to me. I debated if I should post again, but I need an outlet to vent. I've been laying here in the dark, and I've read basically all the comments, and I think an update is warranted. Basically, Adam and I are taking a break, and I've been crying my eyes out for the last few hours. He came home today, and we both agreed that we need to talk and get everything out in the open. He started off by apologizing for what he said, particularly the "sometimes I wish you were still big, so no one else would want you" part. I asked if he thought I was unattractive when I was bigger, and he said no, but he doesn't understand why I'm dieting and exercising the way I am. Adam said I shouldn't have to cook 2 different meals and should just eat what he does, and me going to the gym 6 times a week is obsessive. I told him that it makes me happy, bettering myself, and he said that it has completely changed me. Adam went on to talk about how all I really care about is my looks now. He said he liked my hair how it used to be before I went to a stylist. He liked how I used to paint my own nails instead of getting them done, and how I used to never wear makeup instead of how I have to have some on now before I go out. Adam then said he knows I lost weight because I was unhappy with myself, but he was always happy with me, and he doesn't understand why I have to keep trying to make myself hotter when I was already hot. We talked back and forth, but it felt like I was just doing everything wrong. Adam said that I don't ever want to do things he enjoys anymore, like play video games with him or binge watch movies, and he feels like I'm a different person. I have pushed him to go on walks with me or go to the gym in the past, but he's told me no. So I figured we just had our different hobbies. I feel bad because I see from his point of view I have changed, and I may not be the girl he fell in love with. I told him I love him, and he said he loves me too, but we need to separate for a bit and figure out if we're best for each other. I didn't argue. I just said okay and let him pack his things and leave. He's letting me stay in the apartment until I can move my stuff out. I've been crying my eyes out and everything feels like a blur. I don't know where to go from here, and I feel like I ruined my first real relationship. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You didn't really mention in your original post that you had started focusing so much on how you look beside your fitness regime, or that you had stopped enjoying the same activities, for example, gaming and movie binging. This isn't a criticism of you, but it does indeed sound like you have changed significantly from the person he knew. So perhaps separation was not a terrible idea. You are very young. I know it sounds cliché, but you will find someone else who you're more compatible with in future. It hurts right now, but you just need time. Be strong. OOP. Well, at the time, it felt like me changing my appearance wasn't so much of an issue since he never complained about it, but I see now I was wrong. Now replaying everything in my mind, his reactions have always been indifferent whenever I would show off my hair or nails to him. I still would play video games and watch movies with him, but it wasn't as often as it used to be. For a time, that's all we did every day. I do appreciate your input, and I know it may sound dumb, but I am holding out hope we work things out. Commenter 2. Taking a break? What the hell does that mean? Are you single or taken? Can you have a hookup or not see other people? Look, good luck, but you're going to get hit on and realize you're missing out on a lot of fun. I'm surprised he asked for the break. Seems he would be extremely worried that you will meet someone new and leave him. Ooh, from what he said, he wants us to take some time apart and connect again. I was also confused by what this meant for us, but he doesn't want us to see other people for now. I know most people are suggesting we split up, but I get this sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach when I consider it. Update 2. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone who reached out. Your support has meant so much to me. To get to the point, I broke up with Adam a few days ago, and I'm still trying to process everything that happened. Things have been hectic, and I'm settling into my new situation. Last week, I had decided it was time for me to move out of the apartment. Adam made it clear that our relationship wasn't going to improve unless we took time apart, and as bad as I felt, I knew he wasn't going to come back until I was gone. I knew I wasn't going to be able to move all my stuff by myself, so I decided coworker if they could help me. The only heavy things I had were basically my bed frame and dresser. The rest were just boxes and suitcases full of clothes. Last Monday, I asked my coworker David if he could help me move my stuff into my parents' garage. I know he used to work for a moving company, and he has a truck, so I was hoping he could do it for $100 at Lowell. I showed him pictures of my stuff, and he said he would just have to take apart my bed frame, but yeah, he could do it on Thursday, which was his next day off. I didn't have that day off, but I had PTO to cover it, so it was fine. Thursday comes, and David shows up to the apartment. I show him where everything is, and he goes out to his truck to get his tools. It wasn't more than like a minute or two when I hear Adam's voice yelling, "Did you fuck my girlfriend?" I immediately go into the living room and see David with his hands up, looking very confused, and Adam asking him, "Did you fuck her?" I swear this was the most humiliating thing that has ever happened to me. I could feel my face get red. I go over and grab Adam's hand and pull him into the bedroom. He's freaking out, asking if David is the guy I've been seeing. I told him he's crazy and that David is my coworker and he's only here to help me move my stuff. He said he didn't believe me and he wanted to see my phone. I told him I didn't have anything to hide, but if he goes through my phone, that's a deal breaker for me. He waited a second before taking my phone and going through it. I stood there watching him open up all my socials, all my texts, and even scroll through all of my pictures. It was almost like a light switch went off in my head, and whatever love I had for him was gone. I felt disgusted. I told him that I was breaking up with him, and he looked shocked. He started apologizing and said he was coming over to tell me not to move out and that he wants me to stay with him, but he just freaked out when he saw me here with a guy. That's when I realized that Adam knows I work on Thursdays, so why was he even over here? I asked him this, but he just kept apologizing and begging me to not leave him. Something in me finally snapped, and I screamed at him to get out. I've been mad before, but I've never screamed at anyone like that. He just stared at me, turned around, and left. I immediately picked up my phone and blocked him. I found David in his truck and apologized to him and asked if he could still help me, and he said of course. After we had everything put up in my parents' garage, I went to pay him, and he said instead I could buy him lunch. I took him up on the offer because it would be cheaper than $100 sand. I suggested Applebee's, LOL. It was nice getting to vent to someone who saw how crazy Adam was firsthand. After we were done, he went and paid and said I can get him next time. The breakup didn't really hit me until the next day, and even though I cried my eyes out, it felt good, like I got this huge weight off my chest. To be honest, it's almost scary how okay I'm feeling about it all. Maybe it hasn't fully sunk in yet, and I'll miss him when it does, but for now, I feel fine. Thank you to everyone who's given their advice and helped me. I'm pretty sure this is my last update, unless something crazy happens. Top comments. Commenter 1, woo. The fact that he was there when he knew you were meant to be working is a huge red flag. Is he tracking you because WT? Stay safe. Commenter 2. You need to check your stuff for AirTags. It's super sus that he knew to be at the house when you were. I worked 12 years for the family business, but my dad gave it to my sister and her fiancé, then begged for help when they abandoned him. I, 36, was fired from the firm that my father had started only 8 months before. For background, I've been with the family firm for nearly 12 years. My grandfather on my father's side created a jewelry business that we own. It was passed down to my father, and I assumed it would come to me next. After all, I am the older sister, and I have been interested in business since I was a teenager. My father always told me that he expected me to someday take over the firm. My sister, 33, never appeared interested in a profession. She only wanted to marry and start a kid. So if Dad was going to have an heir to the company, it was supposed to be me. This has always been taken for granted. There was no formal documentation of it, but I suppose I should have planned for anything similar. I had been my father's personal assistant for 12 years. I even abandoned my first job after only 2 years because I wanted to obtain real-world experience before joining my father. I did not want to come across as entitled. However, I left my job once my father requested me to start working for him. Despite everything I had done, I was kicked out of the firm in favor of my sister and her tremendously wealthy fiancé. My sister hadn't even been a member of the family for the previous 15 years. She made a few terrible actions, and my parents cut her off shortly after she turned 18. She had announced that she would not be attending college and instead wanted to explore and discover herself. That did not set well with my parents. They offered her an ultimatum: either attend college or leave. Being the type of person she is, She opted to leave and live with her partner at the moment. They ended their romance after only 6 months together. Then she showed up at our door, pleading to be allowed back into the family. Before she went, she told my parents a lot of terrible things, such as how she no longer needed them and how she would be better off without a family like ours. She also said that we were not good enough for her because her boyfriend's family have much better financial situation than us. She had insulted and humiliated us before going away. When she returned, my father informed her that the terms he had imposed previously remained in effect. If she wanted to return, she would have to go to college and earn a degree regardless of what she selected. Otherwise, she may stay outside. My sister attempted to argue and fight her way back into the family. But my father was resolute. She chose to depart again, vowing never to return. For the next 15 years, we only saw her at family gatherings and never communicated with her otherwise. We discovered information about her life updates from other relatives because she refused to speak with us directly. My mother and I attempted to contact her several times, but because we were on good terms with my father, she refused to speak with us. To her credit, she kept her word and never returned until my father chose to make touch with her again. During that period, she sorted out her life, but not in the way we expected. She never attended college since she wasn't interested. Instead, she lived with a friend for a period, acquired a job, and began working to support the life she desired. I believe that event helped her mature significantly. She changed jobs frequently, but for the past few years, she had worked at an advertising agency. Our family maintained track of her life through other relatives. She knew about us as well, thanks to the same family. My father became very ill about a year ago, and we were on the verge of losing him due to heart failure. The cardiologist informed us that his condition was serious and that he needed to make significant lifestyle adjustments. During this health scare, my father decided it was time to contact my sister and reconcile their relationship. By this point, my sister had matured significantly over the previous 15 years, and she finally accepted to rejoin the family. She came to see us alone, and we didn't chat much about her life because we were too occupied reminiscing about the past. She didn't want to make it all about herself, so she didn't reveal anything about what she'd been up to. The information we didn't obtain from her came from our relatives. We knew how she was doing professionally, but not much about her personal life. Anyway, she seemed pleased to be back, and we were all focused on the reconciliation of father and daughter. It was a really emotional reunion, and I was delighted at the time, not knowing what would happen next. When she returned to see us for the second time, she brought her fiancé, which surprised everyone. She informed us they'd been dating for 3 years and were only recently engaged. None of us in the family knew about it, so we didn't find out through our regular channels. They kept it under wraps. The flow of information was not one-sided. Thanks to our relatives, she knew our father had some health issues, but she had no idea how serious they were. That is why she had not visited us sooner, and she felt it was inappropriate to announce her engagement at the time. Now that everything had cooled down, she decided it was time to introduce him to the family. So she invited him along. He appeared like a pleasant guy, and I could tell he was wealthy. His clothes, watch, and shoes were all costly. I felt glad for my sister because it appeared that she had finally found someone who fit her expectations. He was financially secure, had a clear vision for his life, and had his future planned out. After speaking with both of them, we discovered that her fiancé, like her first boyfriend, was the son of a wealthy man who operated a fast food franchise. Unlike her first relationship, this guy looked serious about her, and they were clearly in love. I was truly thrilled for her and complimented both of them. I never expected my father, or even my sister and her fiancé, to do what they did next. However, after only 3 weeks of knowing him, my father believed it was best if they take over the family business. He contacted me one morning and asked me to come home so we could chat about something. I was at work, running everything since my father's heart health had deteriorated, and I was essentially the boss at that point, even though he hadn't officially resigned. I knew retirement was imminent, and I was convinced that I would be the next in line to take over as CEO. But that day altered everything. Suddenly, my sister and her fiancé were in the running to take over the business I had been running for years. When I arrived at my parents' house, my sister and her fiancé were not present, but my parents were, and they looked grim. After some casual chat, my father dropped the bombshell. I initially assumed he was joking, but when I learned he was genuine, I couldn't believe it. When I inquired why he would make such a radical decision after just 3 weeks of knowing him, he said he had reasons but refused to discuss. After much fighting, Dad finally revealed that he thought my sister and her fiancé would be better at operating the firm than I was. The cherry on top was that he thought gifting them the business would be a welcome gift to bring them back into the family, as they were about to begin a new chapter by getting married. He thought this would be their wedding gift. I attempted to persuade him that this was a terrible idea. A wedding gift doesn't have to be the size of an entire business simply because the guy appeared wealthy. In addition, my father had always told me that when he retired, I would inherit the firm. I had formed my entire life around that expectation, and now he was taking it away from me to give to individuals who had been out of our lives for 15 years. I tried to tell him that maybe he could make us business partners, and bargained and negotiated with him, because we were talking about my future. But my father was adamant that it would be better if they took over. He contended that because my sister's fiancé's father had previously established a successful business, they would be able to grow our jewelry business twice as quickly as I could. I begged him for just one opportunity, but he wouldn't listen. I was heartbroken, not just because I was losing something so important, but also because I had dedicated 12 years of my life to the business only to wind up with nothing. Worse, I still hadn't won my father's respect. If he had truly recognized the time and effort I had put into the firm, he would not have dismissed me. That was the day I resolved to cut all links with my family, because I had nothing else to say to them. I had hoped my sister would fight for me, but she also let me down. She and her fiancé eagerly received the so-called wedding gift, which was effectively my life's labor. My sister knew I'd always aspired to take over the family business after my father retired. I had talked about it non-stop since I was 13. She knew exactly what she was doing when she took that gift. She was snatching my dreams and transforming them into her own. To make matters worse, she took to social media to thank our parents for the magnificent wedding gift, and then used the post to announce her engagement. The most upsetting aspect of it was that no one from the family contacted me after that. When I left my father's house, it felt as if everyone had stopped caring about me. I felt used, and it appeared that the 12 years I had spent in the business had been completely wasted. Fortunately, I had enough savings to fall back on. For the following few months, I did nothing except try to put my life back together. Everything had fallen apart. That happened 8 months ago. Since then, I began therapy, because I could feel myself slipping into depression and knew I wanted to treat it before it worsened. Seeing my sister's social media post made me nauseous, so I blocked her. I also informed my relatives that I was no longer in contact with my family and did not want to hear anything about them, no matter how important the news. They followed my desires and kept everything a secret from me. As a result, I had no notion that my father's health had been slowly declining over the previous few months. My sister and her fiancé seemed unconcerned about it. I only found out a week ago when my father contacted me from the hospital. He informed me that he had suffered a cardiac arrest in the middle of the night and asked me to come see him. Because I had banned his number, he called me using someone else's phone. I felt awful for a moment, but then I remembered what he had done to me 8 months before, and the remorse subsided slightly. After that phone call, I promised to come meet him immediately. I dropped everything and headed to the hospital. When I arrived, my mother and father were present, but my sister and her fiancé were nowhere to be found. I found this perplexing because I assumed they were close, especially since they ran the family business. I couldn't help but ask my parents where my sister and her fiancé were as soon as I walked into the hospital room. With great regret, my father informed me that my sister and her fiancé had both claimed to be too busy to come. I was shocked. Running the business for 12 years taught me that it was a profitable venture that almost ran itself. Unless there was a serious catastrophe, there was no reason to be at work all the time. That's how it worked when I was in control. I couldn't say how things were going under their control, but when my father said they were too busy to see him, I inquired whether they had paid him any visits since his heart attack. He admitted they had not. He had contacted them, but they had only texted back, stating they were too busy and would come after he was discharged. These details astounded me, and I could tell my father recognized he had made a huge mistake in handing over the reins of the firm to my sister and her fiancé. He explained that one of the main reasons he called was to apologize for what he had done. He stated that he felt guilty and sorry for pushing me out of the firm, despite all of my hard work and effort. Now he wants to make things right by inviting me back into the family and the business. He described how heartbroken he was when my sister and her fiancé did not arrive at the hospital. He realized that they didn't care about him in the same manner that he cared for them. He also informed me that this was not the first time they had refused to show up for him. They had become increasingly estranged in recent months. After he handed over the firm, their visits grew less frequent. They used to come every other day to check on him when his health began to deteriorate. But now they claim they are too busy with work to come by. This did not set well with him or me because we both know no one is busy. It wouldn't have been difficult for them to take an hour out of their day, especially given they lived just a few blocks away from my parents' house. My father had said nothing at the moment, but they had passed a limit, and he could no longer take their contempt. He wanted to reclaim his firm and give it to the person who actually deserved it, me. We discussed everything in the hospital room, and he formally invited me back into the firm. I was overjoyed. My father apologized for everything, and while I wasn't fully over it, I forgive him since gaining back what I had worked for meant everything to me. If forgiving my father was the price, I was willing to pay it. The difficulty now is that my father had previously discussed this with my sister. He informed her he wanted her to leave the business because he had discovered that, while he had always cared for her, she had never been there for him. He couldn't stand the disrespect any longer, so he resolved to reclaim the company and give it to the rightful owner. He told her that they'd have to look after themselves. Unsurprisingly, my sister was upset. For whatever reason, she blamed me for everything. She contacted me this morning and lashed out, accusing me of being a horrible person, and said she couldn't believe I would be so rude to her. I'm not really sure why she's acting so crazily. I think there's something we don't know, but she's acting as if she's lost everything. And it's all my fault. The reality is, I believe this is her own fault. She chose not to see our father after he suffered a cardiac arrest, which is a dangerous situation. She could have taken time off work to visit him. She was the one acting selfishly. And now, I'm receiving what I've always deserved. 8 months ago, she had no trouble receiving a present she knew she didn't deserve. So why should I turn my back on something I actually deserve? She was devastated, and I tried to console her, but she hung up mid-sentence. Now I'm wondering if I'm the evil guy here. I feel like I'm constantly taking the blame, and I'm fatigued. Am I a jerk for allowing my father to ask my sister and her fiancé to leave the family business so that I could retake it? Update 1. Thank you all very much for your responses. I felt I didn't deserve my sister's criticism, but hearing it from you has reassured me. If people who know nothing about our lives believe I deserve the business, I have nothing further to say in my defense. I don't think I have to either. It's been a few days since I last spoke with my sister, and I haven't heard back. The good news is that she hasn't blocked me on any platform, so I suppose that's a good indication. I can't shake the notion that there's more going on than she's admitting. I find it difficult to imagine that someone with a wealthy fiancé would act in this manner simply because they lost control of our firm. I believe that not everything is as it appears with her fiancé. Some of you inquired about this in the comments section of the original piece, but I did not address it since I did not believe it was important at the time. Now, however, I assume her fiancé's family is struggling financially. According to what I've heard, his father's company has suffered considerable losses over the last year and has been unable to recover. I believe my sister and her fiance saw our family business as an opportunity to sneak in and take over as a backup plan. I still don't understand why my sister reacted so strongly when she realized that I was being allowed to rejoin the company and she was being asked to step down. If her fiance's family was still financially secure, she wouldn't have to be concerned. However, she was distraught, and something about the situation did not make sense. I have a hunch she will tell the truth shortly. Fortunately, my father never signed any agreements or contracts that would have legally passed the firm to my sister and her fiance. That would have been disastrous. He remained CEO the entire time, with them reporting to him in the same position I had held. He had been educating them to take over, but it is now evident that this will not happen. I spoke with my father, who informed me that my sister is quite sad, but he cannot afford to worry about her sentiments right now. His primary objective is to transfer the business to me so that I can take control and manage everything. He's already working with a lawyer to create the required documentation, and I should be taking over very shortly. To be honest, I'm looking forward to the adjustment, and my sister's dramatic outbursts can't bring me down right now. Update 2. Hello everyone. It's been a few weeks since my last post, and I wanted to give you an update. I am now the new CEO of my father's jewelry firm. The transition is complete, and it feels fantastic to finally be in charge. There were some difficulties throughout the changeover, primarily due to my sister's intervention, but it's finally complete. My sister is not thrilled about any of this, and I can now confirm that my theory was true. She and her fiancé were attempting to establish a foothold in our family business. Despite knowing that her fiancé's father's company was faltering, they saw the family firm as a safety net in case his father's company failed. Apparently, it was my sister's idea to persuade my father to reintegrate them into the family by transferring the firm to her fiancé. Unfortunately, my father fell for it. He revealed to me recently that he was not thinking clearly at the time. He was enticed by the thought that someone from a successful business family could run the company better than I could. My father first intended to keep me in my previous position, but when I stated unequivocally that I wanted to be the company's CEO or nothing, he became enraged. That's what caused the 8 months of anguish for both of us. Fortunately, my father came to his senses just in time to avoid a huge catastrophe. As it turns out, my sister's fiancé and his father's firm are in terrible difficulties, with their market credibility virtually wiped out. I'd heard reports that their business was likely to fail, but I didn't believe them. I assumed that if something significant happened, my father would contact me, and he expected me to do the same if I was aware. Unfortunately, neither of us contracted out, which was a poor decision. My sister recently revealed the truth. She contacted me soon before the move was complete, admitting that they needed work because they didn't know how long her fiancé's father could keep his firm running. She asked me for assistance. I told her I'd think about it, and I honestly don't mind hiring them. However, knowing their true goals from the outset, I can no longer trust them. That's what I'm fighting with right now. I want to help her, but how can I hire somebody I don't trust? I told her I needed time to make a decision, and she agreed to wait. Update 3. After careful consideration, I have chosen not to hire my sister and her fiancé. I know this may appear selfish to some, but I can't trust them. When my father offered them the business, they accepted without hesitation, and for 8 months, they had no sympathy or concern for anyone other than themselves. I do not want folks like that working with or around me. It was difficult, but I informed my sister that I couldn't assist her. As expected, she did not take it well. She came into my office the other day, threw a fit, and accused me of being callous and selfish. She even stated she regretted giving me the company back, which I thought odd because it was never her decision. It was my father's. Her assertion that she did me a huge favor by letting me take over the company was absurd. I might have tolerated her actions, but her statement irritated me. I informed her that she had never done me any favors. Not now, nor in the past. She never cared about me. Therefore, she couldn't expect me to care about her right now. I calmly asked her to leave, but she refused and kept screaming at me. undermining me in my own office. At that point, I had no choice but to phone the police and have her removed. I'm too busy at work to deal with unnecessary drama. When the cops arrived, she didn't say much and eventually left. It's been a few days since the incident, and I still haven't heard from her. I assume she'll leave us alone now, but even if she doesn't, I'm not worried. I'll get a restraining order if necessary. My wife and the mother of our 3 kids is cheating on me, and she thinks I don't know. What should I do now? Original post. I don't even know how to start all of this. I feel like I will faint. I have been married to my wife for 9 years, together 11. We are both from Europe, but not from the same country, and currently live in Asia. We have lived in Asia for the last 10 years, but in this country, we are living for the last 8. We have 3 kids, M8, M6, 3. My wife has not worked since our first son was born. I have permanent residence in the country where we live, and she and my kids are allowed by the law to stay with me, even though they are not citizens, and she is not working. Marriage is in my eyes pretty good. We had some fights in these 9 years, but nothing special. I work 5 days per week from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. She never told me she feels lonely or not loved or bored. She has her routine. Oldest son goes to school, my younger son goes to preschool, and my daughter goes to kindergarten. She drives them every day to school and picks them after, makes lunch and waits for me. We would go on vacations, trips, holidays, dates every weekend. I have never ever thought she is doing something behind my back. We also have an open phone policy, but I don't remember when I checked her phone before all of this. I don't think I've used it 5 times in my life. This Wednesday, I came to our house and parked the car outside. I don't think she heard me, but I heard her talking with someone about how she misses that person and can't wait to see it this week. I don't know if she heard me or saw my car, but literally 5 seconds after she said that, she hung up the call. I asked her who that was, and she said, it's one of her friends who is currently on the trip. To be fair, I didn't suspect it was a P. I know. I am an idiot, but I couldn't imagine that. Also, that friend was really on the trip, which I know. But the things were off. She was trying that day too much. She was always nice and was in a good mood, but that day, everything was a little bit too much. I had a really weird feeling, but I said I will wait until the next day. And I am probably making things up in my head. I came to work on Thursday and was just asking myself, am I paranoid or what? It bothered me why she ended the call immediately when I was in the house if that was her friend. During the day, I called her and asked where she was. She said she was in the house, but I heard noises around her. I seriously thought she was cheating on me. I left work and jumped in the car and went to my house. It's about a 30-minute drive. When I came, she was not there. I called her again and wanted to ask her again where she was, but didn't want to look suspicious. So I asked her if she could look at some things in the house. And while she was on the call, she was saying she is checking those things. I knew then that she was cheating. I came home, and she was lovely as always. Wanted to go out with me and the kids later. I seriously don't know how I remained calm then, and how I didn't kick her out immediately. And I pretended the rest of the day that I was just tired. Yesterday, I told everything to my best friend. He was furious when I was waiting, and that I should confront her right away. But I didn't have any evidence. I said I will look at her phone and laptop when she goes to sleep. When I came home, she was behaving well. We even had sex. I think if I stay under the shower for 10 months, it will not be enough. I wasn't in the mood, and she asked me if everything was okay, and I said, it's just too much stress at work. She hugged me and went to sleep, saying everything is okay. During the night, I checked her phone. I don't know if she was that stupid or so sure I won't see messages, but she didn't delete anything. They were hidden, but not deleted. I had about 40 minutes to look, because she woke up. AP, some kid. I mean, technically not a kid, but he is younger than me. I would say 23, 27. I checked his IG, and he is apparently some fuckboy. He follows 80% girls. Tattoos, jewelry, muscles, and he is white. So he is not a local guy. To be honest, he is attractive. I can't lie. Attractive enough for her to ruin marriage and family. By his name, I would say he is from Europe also, but I'm not sure. He seems to have a lot of cash. I don't know if he is some daddy's boy or what, but I can see he has two supercars, travels the world, and posts pictures from going to parties weekly. They were physical at least 4, 5 times. She sent him so many nudes almost all during the morning, when she was alone and without kids near her. It seems this is going on for about a month. I have no idea how they meet. She was going out last month sometimes, as she would say, on girls' nights, and I never checked her. Probably then, somewhere. She was initiating meetings and conversations almost every time. He either doesn't like her enough or acts like he doesn't care, so I think she feels that and tries a lot. They had sex 2 times during the evening. When she told me, she was with her friend, and the rest of the time in the morning, at his place. When I was in the house 2 days before, she wasn't with him but wanted to be. But he said he was busy, and she was already in the city. I said to myself, I will not say anything to her. We woke up today. I wasn't working. She wanted to spend time with me, but I was in my home office most of the day thinking, how the heck can this happen to me? I went out tonight for dinner with my best friend and showed him everything. To be honest, I have no idea what to do right now. I will definitely divorce her. Oh, see, I will contact a lawyer tomorrow. Now it is late night here, even though it's Sunday. My biggest problem is that we live in a foreign country, on a different continent. I have a feeling if we divorce, she will go back to her country with kids. I can't allow that. House, both cars are all in my name and paid by me. We have a significant amount in the joint account. I have my own bank account where I have savings. She doesn't have her own account. I also have one house and one property in my country that my grandparents gave me during our marriage. It's in my name. Now what to do? I can't stand near her anymore. I want to confront her. Do I confront or talk with a P? Maybe he has a wife. Doubt it. Do I kick her out of the house or do I leave? Obviously, if we don't have kids, everything would be easier. But I love my kids more than anything. And I will fight for them, staying here. I will also make a DNA test, even though I'm pretty sure they are mine. But you never know. Good Lord. I can't believe what I'm writing. Anyway, any advice is more than welcomed. I only said this to my best friend. I am too embarrassed to say this to anyone else. I plan to confront her today, Sunday. Thank you. Update 1. Hi everyone. A lot of you asked me for the update. There is some very good and some not very good news. First of all, I want to clarify some things. I received many messages and comments about this. My wife is both from Europe, not from the same country. We are 11 years together, 9 years married. We met in my country. Then, after a year of relationship, I received a job offer in Asia. She went with me. But since we weren't married, she couldn't get a proper visa. She didn't work at that time. She was flying out and flying back in the country. And she was on a tourist visa. About a year after we moved to Asia, we married there. And then, a year after she married me, we moved to another country in Asia, where we have lived for the last 8 years. So 10 years in total in Asia. I lived first 2 in one country, where we had a wedding. Last 8 years in the country where we are currently. A lot of you asked me where exactly AP lives. I am not sure if AP lives here the whole year or not, but I think he does. It's a huge city, and there are a lot of foreigners here, and his apartment is in a downtown area, where there are a lot of foreigners. Also, a lot of you asked me to give her another chance, and go on the MC because of kids. I respect your opinions, and everyone is different. Someone can forgive a 10 years affair. Someone can't forgive innocent texting with an unknown man. I don't forgive something like this. I don't know what needs to happen for me to consider rare with her. If I was a bad husband, if I didn't take care of her, if our sex life was dead, if she ever told me she is not happy, I would at least understand why she did that. But it is quite the opposite. Sex life 4, 5 times per week. She is always smiling, and literally since I know her says she is happy. We always spend time together. She never avoids me or becomes angry at me. So, yeah, my answer is no. Only if my kids beg me and suffer so much. I might live with her for some time. but I will never, ever touch her again. I called the lawyer here today, told him I really want to meet him, and I can pay more since it's a Sunday and I assume it's his free time. Lawyer was really nice on the phone and we met after lunch. I showed him and explained everything to him. The news are this: all the assets I have here are completely mine. She doesn't have any rights on that currently. She is on a spousal family visa here, doesn't work, not a citizen, while I have permanent residency. Since everything has been paid by me and everything is on my name, I am the owner of everything. All the money in the bank is mine. He advised me to take all the money from the joint account and transfer it to another bank account where she doesn't have access. Joint account is in my name, but she has credit debit cards and uses it daily for everything for the house/kids/her. So technically, she doesn't have any right on that money. Cars are the same story, because they are all in my name and paid for by me, with clear evidence that I paid for it. The bad news are about the most important thing, kids. Since, I repeat again, she is on the spousal visa. If we divorce, she can't stay here anymore. She needs to find a job or be on a tourist visa. She can't use tourist visas forever, and sooner or later, someone at the immigration will stop her and deny her entry. My kids can stay with me on the family visa. Things become very tough right here about divorce. Basically, 4 countries are involved. 2 home countries, the country where we married each other and the country where we are now. If we divorce in Asia, there are big chances I will be the primary custody parent. At worst, we will share the custody. But if we divorce in Europe, I am basically fucked. And most likely, I will have to return if I want to be near my kids. He also told me about the idea that I offer her some assets or money to make a deal that kids stay in Asia with me. But I doubt she would accept that. If I kick her out of the house and the police get involved, I won't have problems, since I have proof I am the father. Even if the police get involved, kids will stay at my house. Passports are safe and she doesn't know where I hid them. Lawyer told me to make DNA test for the kids and to not leave the house so my wife can stay with them. I will do DNA test tomorrow. In the meantime, he will start making everything about the divorce. After we get results from the DNA test, she will be served. All in all, a very tough and complex situation, but I will fight. I also talked with a lawyer from my home country. He told me if my wife somehow takes the kids from me and goes back to Europe while we are still not divorced, I need to file the report with the police immediately in the country where we live, and more importantly in my home country. Since both of our home countries are in the European Union, laws are very similar. If she does that, the police will be at her door very soon. So that's good. I didn't confront her. She was actually mad at me most of the day because I went out to meet the lawyer, and I spent time in my home office, and according to her, this is the day for us. I seriously don't know how I can contain myself to not tell her anything. She spent the last 2 days at home. Probably she waits tomorrow to call the AP. She behaves well. An hour later, she apologized to me for her being angry at me today and tried to kiss me. I am trying everything to avoid her as much as possible. Hopefully, I will go to bed when she is already asleep. Tomorrow, I will make DNA test for all the kids. Lawyer told me he will call me with all details for the best options for the divorce. I will ask for some free days at work, and after that, I will confront her, and a poor lawyer told me to record everything he says. Thank you so much for your messages and comments. Your advice helped me a lot. Thank you once again. Update 2. First of all, I want to say something. I am reading all of your comments, or most of them. What some of you can write is just pure craziness. Stop putting your own words and stories in my mouth. I have never ever said I want to see my wife out of the country where we live right now. If there is one person in the world that wants her to stay here, that's me then. Because that means my kids are staying. I will offer her the best deal that will allow her to stay here, but that deal includes divorce. If she rejects it, then we will fight for custody. I am not the one who should fight for her future. I didn't do shit to her. According to some of you, I should go back to Europe in her country. I've been there 4 times in my life. I have to leave everything I have built in Asia, so I could see my kids 3 days per week while I didn't do anything. She did. She cheated on me, and I should destroy everything I have. so she could be in the nice spot, because I am the father, and she is cheating the mother. Or even better, I should not divorce her so she can stay here, because she was cheating, and doesn't know how to keep her legs closed, and I need to suffer, and never meet anyone else in my life. Brilliant logic. Maybe she can find the job here, and stay in the country legally, and, with the kids that have everything? That's also not okay. Poor her, she needs to work. Some of you said she gave up on her career because of me and kids. Again, you're making stories without knowing anything. She didn't give up on anything. I was the one telling her if she wants to work, she finished only high school. She can, and I will hire the nanny. But she didn't want to, because she probably needed time for her AP. I am not forcing her out of the country. Immigration will force her if we divorce and she doesn't have a job. That's normal in every country. I am not above the law. She can find a job and stay with the kids, because the best for kids is to stay here. She should do everything to be near kids. In the end, I love our kids more than she does, because I didn't ruin our family. She did. Not to mention, my kids don't know anyone in her country except her family. Don't speak her language and have friends and go to school kindergarten here. Well, if you ever experience something like this in your life, you can use your logic. I will stick with mine. So, to conclude this rant, I will offer her the deal with the kids staying here. She stays here, but not with me. If she rejects it, we go to court, and we will see what the judge will say. I also never said if we divorce, she will not get anything. She will, but not as much as she would get in Europe, and I honestly don't care if I lose money, house, or whatever if my kids stay here. I could transfer ownership of my house on my brother, cars, send all the money as a gift loan to him or to my parents like my lawyer told me to do if I want to keep everything after the divorce, because at this moment, she is not entitled at anything before the divorce, since she doesn't even have residency status here, let alone citizenship, and everything is in my name. So I can do that before I file for the divorce, and she will get huge nothing here. But I am not doing that. I will earn that money back in a few years max, but my kids are forever. Now, news and long updates. Yesterday, I had long talks with my lawyer. He will make everything so we can divorce here where we live. It will be a tough process, but we are ready. He also gave me the contact of the lawyer in the country where we married each other. That lawyer told me that according to everything I told him, I'm in a great position. So I am literally building 2 cases if I need to. I need to divorce in Asia, not in Europe. If I divorce in the country where we live or where we married each other, there are huge chances kids will stay with me. EU courts have zero rights or jurisdiction here, so if she ever thinks to send kids in Europe with her, she can only dream. The court, according to my lawyers, would keep kids here because 2 of 3 my kids are already in the school. Spent whole life here. I am working. She doesn't. I have house, financial power for their good life and residency status. My wife could ask for the appeal in her own country, where she would have bigger chances. But that process could go for years, and I can delay it also in the multiple ways, and my kids would not be allowed to leave the country where we are without me allowing that. So that's great. I sent all the details about the house, cars, and bank accounts to my lawyer, and he is building the case. Also, I agreed with him that we make a deal for her. She can keep the house and car, but I will be the primary custody parent. Or I keep the house and I will pay for the place where she can live, and we share the custody. Anything else I don't accept. When I came back home from work, she was waiting for me with the kids. Again, she looked good. We went out as a family during the evening. I had a great time with the kids. I couldn't stand her. When we came home, she tried to initiate sex, but I politely refused. She was laughing while talking about some nice moments in our past most of the night in bed, so I had to ask myself if she was completely out of her mind. Today, she drove our kids to school and kindergarten before I left the house. I took all the papers I needed, suit, some clothes, and left. I decided yesterday that I will not confront her directly because of the kids. They are always near us, and I don't want them to have trauma because of this. While I was at work, she was texting me about plans for us tonight. I was acting like everything was fine, because I thought she might come to my work if I confronted her already, and that would cause me huge problems at my work. When she texted me at 3 p.m. that the kids are home and that they are all eating, I knew that's the moment. I finished the job shortly after. I left her some money on the joint, mine, but she has access account and took everything else to my other bank account. I sent her the text at 04:05 p.m. The funniest thing with all the evidence I have, I still can't believe this is the reality. 11 years. I want to tell you so many things right now, but I am so disgusted by you that I just want this to end as soon as possible. You made your choice. Now I am making mine. You can stay tonight. Tomorrow, after the kids leave for school, I want you to see out of my house. Don't try to do something stupid with the kids. You will just have bigger problems. I am ready for every scenario. My lawyers are ready. Be normal, and we can end this in the most normal way. Everything else will just put you in the worst position possible. In the end, I can't say I want you all the best, but if your best is away from me, then I want you all the best. Don't call me, and I repeat, don't do something stupid, because I will not tolerate that. My lawyer will contact you about the kids immediately when you leave my house. You can meet and be with them every day, but you are not allowed to enter my property after everything you did. P.S. You look good in those nudes pictures you sent to a P. She was online when I sent her the message, but didn't respond or call for the next 20 minutes. I wish I could see her face during those 20 minutes. During those 20 minutes, I called the AP. He rejected the call and sent the message asking who it was. I called again and he answered. I told him that I will not do anything to him. I just want normal talk, and if he has any human decency, he will meet with me wherever and whenever he wants. Whole day I thought he would reject the possible meeting, but he apologized to me and asked me where I was. I explained to him, he told me where he was, and we decided to meet at 05:30 p.m. in a bar near his flat. When my wife started to call me, I put the phone in airplane mode. AP was waiting for me. I saw that he was looking at me from 10 am away at least. I was audio recording the meeting. Wolf, he knew how I look. I mean, my wife has pictures with me on her G&us as a profile picture on WhatsApp and Line. What a lovely wife. He immediately asked me if he said everything, and after that, I could ask him whatever I wanted. I told him he can, but after he says everything about him. He's 26 years old. He is from one country in Europe, as I assumed. He doesn't have any or wife. No kids. He lives here the whole year and just enjoys his life. He looks good. He is an attractive young guy and seems like someone who only wants to bang girls. Then he started to talk about how he met my wife. They were in one restaurant club in the early August. He was with friends. She was with friends. I knew about this because she asked me if she would go out with her friends. After some time, they all started to sit together. They talked a little bit, he told his IG when some of wife's friends asked. He says she wasn't flirty that day. He saw her ring and assumed she was married and didn't want anything. He showed me messages with her from other apps that I didn't know to see. She started to talk a little, and after that they talked more and more. She said she loves me, but that I have cheated on her. I've never looked, let alone touched another woman since I met her before a month, and that is her revenge. When I saw that I wanted to vomit. She was saying this before or after the first time they were physical. He told me they had sex 4 times, 1 round. Whenever they would meet, she would be nervous after the sex, and would always say, "This is wrong," and she would leave shortly after. He was confused with her behavior, and even texted her to not meet anymore. According to him, she cried last time and said, "This is over," and that she made the worst mistakes in her life. She loves me, and even though I cheated on her, this is not okay. She wrote to him that she liked the attention, and that he picked her even though she is 9 years older, before some single friends of her, but that she doesn't have any emotional love for him, but she has for me. Lucky me. Last Thursday, when I came into the house in the middle of the work to catch her, and found the empty house, and caught her lying to me, she called him to meet. This guy actually told me with a straight face that he wanted to have sex with her that day. I mean, he has balls. He was busy somewhere, and she was waiting for him in the lobby of the building where he lives. He thought she came because of sex. But according to him, she rejected him and told him they were done. She told him to not call her anymore and that she will never stop regretting everything that she did. She also asked him to not say a thing to anyone. He showed me messages after the meeting where she said almost the same thing because he was confused. So he asked her again if she's sure. She blocked him after that on everything and never called again. Probably she deleted all these messages because I didn't see those messages on her phone. Did she forget to delete those hidden messages I actually saw? I have no idea. I don't know if he is lying, but I don't think he does. He doesn't have any reason to defend her because he actually said a lot of bad things about her and gave me every evidence I needed. He showed me literally every message. He said about every disgusting detail. He even told me one of my wife's friends knew about them. So, he told me basically more than I wanted. While we were talking, my wife called him. He showed me and asked me if I wanted him to answer. I told him to not answer. She started to send him messages and voice messages. Some of the quoted messages are voice messages where she screamed like a lunatic. Her, where is he? Why did you tell him? I hate it. You destroyed my life. Where is he? Him, what are you talking about? Why are you attacking me when you lied to me and him? Her, how does he know? He left me. You destroyed me. I told you we are over. Why did you do this? Where is he? I am trying to find him. Him, I didn't tell him anything. I didn't do anything. You are married. Her, I made mistakes, but I don't love you. I love my husband. I don't love you. I never loved anyone except him. I made the worst mistake in my life. I never liked you, except for fun. I wish I never met you. Him, I really don't care who you love, but why did you lie to me? Her, I didn't lie about anything. I really love my husband, and he left me now. I don't want to live. He left me. Him, I am not talking about that. You lied. He cheated on you, and that's why you are doing this. How many guys have you been behind his back saying the same thing you told me? Hooray, with 0. You are the first and last, and I can't believe I did this. You told him and destroyed me because I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Him, I don't give a damn what you want or not. I didn't tell him anything. Answer my question. Her, you told him, you're a horrible human being. Him, answer the question. Her, what question? Him, why did you lie? He cheated on you. Her, because I am an idiot and liked the attention and lost control, and now I lost everything. How does he know about this if you didn't tell him? Him, I didn't say anything and I need to go. Her, how do you know I lied about him if you didn't talk? I know you told him everything. I hate you. You destroyed me. Him, again, I didn't tell him anything, but I hope he will not forgive you. She blocked him after this. I was just looking at him for 2 minutes without saying anything. I was close to starting to cry. He was apologizing like crazy and said if he knew that she is happily married, he wouldn't do anything. He says I don't need to believe him, but that's the truth. He told me he doesn't want anything with her and never planned. Also, he sent me of all their messages immediately so I can have it during the divorce process. He asked me what I want to do with her in the marriage. I told him everything, and he wished me and my kids best of luck and asked me if she called him or sent him any message. Do I want him to tell me? I said I wanted to. He told me if I need anything I can call him. We even shook hands. If someone told me before a week that I will DNA test my 3 kids and shake hands with my wife's lover, I would think I am high. But this is my life. In the end, it's not his fault. I didn't marry him. I sent the audio recording of the meeting and answered their messages to my lawyer and talked with him a little bit. He told me with everything said and messages that he sent me, it would increase even more my chances during the divorce. Now, I am in the hotel. I didn't block my wife. She sent me a billion messages and called me at least 100 times. Even my friends called me asking where I was because my wife told them we had a huge fight and I left the house. In the morning when my kids leave for school kindergarten, I will confront her eyes and eyes, and then in the afternoon, I will DNA test kids. I took some free days from work this week, so I have time. That's it. I know some of you will tell me I shouldn't do this and that, but I am trying my best. It's much easier to give advice from the phone than actually living this shit and going through a roller coaster of emotions. This is by far my worst period in my life, and I have been through some really shitty situations during my life. I don't know if I will update. Probably I will put in another sub or at my profile. But if I don't, just be smarter than I was. Thank you all, and take care. Update 3. I will post here because I don't have time to deal with the trolls. Hey guys. A lot of you asked me for the update. I am really busy these days, but a lot of things have happened. So let me share because, strangely enough, I find writing about this very therapeutic. Okay, so my last update was when I was at the hotel. During that night, my wife's best friend called me and said she will be near her with the kids. Me and her have a great relationship, and she is, in my eyes, by far her best friend. She called me on Wednesday early in the morning that she is driving my kids for the school because my wife can't stop crying. I jumped in the car, picked my friend, Witness, and we came to my house. Honestly, I can say it was much easier than I expected to kick her out. Yeah, it wasn't the fastest process, 2 HRs. But at the end, she left without police being involved. She cried, begged for forgiveness. She would explain everything to me, everything. She screamed, begged again, didn't listen to her friend, my lawyer. I even told her if she doesn't leave, I will call the police and do everything in my power to deport her. Again, she didn't want to leave. She just wanted to talk with me. Then I just said to myself that I will lie to her. I told her to leave if she loves me, so I can have space, and that I will call her today when I think a little bit about everything. I just wanted her to see out of my property. She left with some clothes shortly after. Since then, she has lived with her best friend. During the day, I did most of the things I needed. Changed the locks at the house and at the gates of the property. Cut her off from everything that is on my name and she uses. I hired the babysitter, Melody. On Monday, I talked with my coworker, female. She also has younger kids and she recommended me to Melody. Melody doesn't work for her anymore because my coworker's husband is now working from home, so they don't need her anymore. Melody is really nice. She is also from Asia, speaks great English and local language. She drives, cooks, cleans, CV is good. No criminal record, so I agree that she works for me. I also tested my kids and myself for STDs. My kids asked me after school where my wife is. I told them we will be separated for now. They had some questions. I told them if they wanted to talk or see her, just let me know. Both of my sons said, "It's okay," and that was that. They met Melody, and they looked normal around her. My wife called me the whole day, and again sent so many messages. Then on Thursday, I had another chaos with her. I drove my kids to school and my daughter to kindergarten. I came back home. I was doing some things on the PC. Melody was doing chores, and then I had a call from the school where both of my sons go. The principal called me and said my wife wanted to see my older son during the class, and that security stopped her. She made the scene and said to her that she didn't see her kids for 2 days. Again, I jumped immediately in the car. I needed at least 30 minutes to get there. During those 30 minutes, the principal called me again and said she talked with my wife again and that she and a psychologist in the school contacted Child Protective Service, CPS, because apparently that's the law where we live. It's not in these situations. When I came to the school, my wife again wanted me to talk to her. Begged, cried, same all. All of that in front of people from the school. They explained to me that my wife told them she didn't see kids for 2 days and is scared. Then one woman arrived from the CPS. She started to attack me immediately. How can I just steal kids from their mom? I was shocked. She was accusing me like I am some kind of drug dealer. To be honest, my wife did defend me in front of them. She said, I didn't steal kids, and I didn't forbid her to do anything, but she wanted to see them now because I kicked her out of the house. She just wants to come back in the house. We'll do anything, blah blah blah. When she said that, that woman from the CPS and the principal attacked me again. They even suggested my wife to call the police because they assumed I kicked her out without anything and that I was aggressive. When I heard that I had enough, I called the lawyer immediately. He was busy, but told me he will come and not speak with them. I was waiting for him and didn't say a word. My wife explained to everyone what happened in our lives. She was more or less honest, and again she said she will do this and that. I need to forgive her. She loves me. Blah, blah, blah. While she was saying that, literally everyone gave her support. I was just speechless. Then when she tried to hug me or kiss, I pushed her away, and this woman from the CPS said that I have clear signs of an abuser. I was so close to saying a lot of things, but again, I didn't say anything. My wife told her that's not true, and that I have never ever raised my voice, let alone handed to her, and it's her fault. But she loves me and can't live without me. Before my lawyer came, another woman from CPS arrived, and she was the same as the first one. I am the worst. I am horrible. My wife is sweet and innocent. Whatever. My lawyer came and he was furious with them. He showed all the details about me, about my wife, mostly immigration details. He said she doesn't work, doesn't have a place to live, might be deported, and is mentally unstable, and is not the right person to be around my kids. He told them about some articles in the law, that they can't do this and that. This is against the law. While he was speaking, my wife realized he is my divorce lawyer and started to attack him on how he can be so cruel and without heart. The principal told her and me to leave the office while they were talking inside. We were in the hallway. Again she cries. Tries to talk with me. I was just looking at the security guy who was 100% laughing inside himself with what kind of lunatic I needed to deal with. The principal left the office and went to bring my kids. My older son asked me what was going on. I just told him to answer what they asked him, and that's it. After maybe 3 minutes, the principal called us to come into the office. That first cow from the CPS said the kids said everything and that they have the most important details. I asked them what details, and she said both of my sons said they want to stay with me and that they enjoy being with me. They repeated the same in front of me and my wife. My wife, for the 100th time, started to cry again. My older son even moved a little bit so she couldn't hug him. They left after that. These women from CPS said me and my wife need to make a deal for the kids. I said, we will after I solve everything that I need. And then she gave me a paper and told me to sign. It was in the local language, so I needed a little bit of time to read all of that. So my lawyer took that paper and told me to not sign. They wanted me to sign that so they have legal grounds to visit my home every week, uninvited, to see how I'm doing with the kids. My lawyer attacked them that they are doing this for their bonuses, and that they don't have any legal right to ask me to sign this, and that they can call whoever they want. They said they will contact their supervisors, and that the police will probably contact me. I left immediately. No one contacted me still. My wife stormed after me and begged me again to talk. I just drove off. When my kids came home, I talked with them about everything what happened. They told me they heard my wife in the Tuesday, when I sent her that message, how she cries and begs me to listen to her. So they know it's her fault. Smart little kids. I drove them to football practice. My daughter was with Melody. She likes her a lot. My sons even helped Melody to clean after they ate, and they wouldn't do that with my wife. So I think deep down, they know they need to behave as best as possible and help me during this time. Again, my wife calls me 24/7. I think she should be in the Guinness World Records for the most calls made and messages sent. Today was a much better day. Everything in the school was good. My daughter stayed at home because they have a free day today. Melody is making her hair. They sing. They are a great duo for now. My wife's friend called me in the afternoon, saying that my wife wants to see kids. I told her it's okay. They arrived and my wife immediately saw I changed the gates. My daughter was very happy to see her. Wife was crying when she saw her. She was waiting for my sons, and both of them told her they don't want to be with her now. I told them to talk a little bit with her because she was crying literally on the street. But they refused and went into their bedroom and later to play with their friends on the street. I told her to leave. and she begged me again to give her a chance to tell me everything. I told her that she needs to wait to talk with me until I receive DNA tests. She put my daughter on the ground and just looked at me for 10 seconds, completely frozen. Honestly, I thought at those moments, kids are not mine. She was shocked and said, "Kids are mine," and she can't believe I'm saying this. I really think this was the moment when she finally realized what she did. She told me again that the kids are mine, and she jumped in the car. I talked a little bit with her friend, and I could see my wife was crying like crazy. They left after that. My wife's friend brought my daughter back. She said my wife locked herself in the bedroom. She called her parents to confess everything, and she is in a state of shock that I've tested our kids. Kids are mine. She never looked at anyone during the marriage except AP. My wife told her friend that she can't believe what she did, and that she knows now she lost everything when I did the DNA test, because that's very extreme, and she thinks I don't trust her anything. Her parents called me tonight. To say they are furious is understatement. Her mom begged me to not cut the contact between them and my kids. I said they can always call them and come here, but that I will not allow my kids to leave Asia before we divorce. She is fine with that, and thanked me. Her father told me she is not welcome anymore in their home. They are disgusted she could do something like this, and he told her to not call them anymore. They are very conservative, 40 plus years in the marriage, so this was kinda expected. Her older brother told me the same, that he blocked her, and that he is disgusted that she is his sister. They all gave me full support, and told me to inform them about everything. They FaceTimed a little bit with my kids, and they had a good time. That's about that. Hopefully, the weekend will be much easier. I am very tired, mentally but physically also. We are going to watch a football game with my friend's family, and hopefully, my wife will give me some peace. Since I told her about DNA test, she didn't call me anymore. So that's at least something good. I am waiting for the DNA results. My younger son has 7th birthday next Saturday, so that will also be one huge pain in the ass to be around my wife. But it is what it is. Thank you for your advice and nice words. Update 4. Hello. Hello. Yes, I am the father. I mean, I knew 99% of the kids were mine, but you never know. In the end, I thought my wife was a loyal woman, but she isn't. I can say I can breathe with the full lungs, finally. Now everything is easier. When I received the results today, I was so scared to read it. I needed to take 10 minutes before I actually saw the results. Damn, if someone told me this will be my life. But here we are. I started to work again today. Melody is taking care of everything. My friend and his wife are there to help her. She sent me pictures of my kids when she drove them from the school and when they were eating. She is really good, and kids love her. Well, these last 5 days were really tough mentally, so let me start. Weekend, my wife didn't call me at all, since I told her about DNA tests. She was still sending me messages, but didn't call. Her friend told me she looks like shit and behaves like she has a mental breakdown. She would send me about 30 messages per day. Before it was 150, 200 at least. Mostly were something like this. Good morning. Have a great day. I am so sorry for everything. Please call me if you have any desire. I am so proud of you, how you are taking care of everything. I can't express how sorry I am for everything. I wish I never went out that night. I wish I told you immediately. She would sometimes change the words, but the context would be the same. And she would send me some pictures of us and kids from the past, from the vacations, was all being on the couch, in the restaurants, etc. I have to say that, until yesterday, she would just FaceTime with my daughter every day, but she didn't come to pick her up. I key why, but as her friend says, she just doesn't seem normal right now. Well, my brother called me in the Saturday. I didn't tell him or anyone in my family what was going on. Whenever they would call to see my kids, me and my wife, I would have some excuse why my wife isn't near me. I knew she didn't tell them until she actually did. So my brother called me, and he told me she confessed everything. He was shocked and couldn't believe it. He thought we were joking with him. Yes, people. With all the evidence, still no one can believe. I think people would rather believe she became president of the USA than this. That's how shocking and how big betrayal this is. My brother's wife is very close to my wife. After she heard about all of this, she cut every contact with her. My brother did the same. At first, I thought she did it because of me to show me support, even though, as I said, they are really close. But no, she did it also because she is also disgusted by her and doesn't want to see a person like her around my brother, her husband. I actually laughed at this, but I appreciated the support. So my wife lost one of the last people she could call. My brother told me they will try to come to see me soon, so I'm glad. Then my parents called me. My wife also told them everything. My father supports every decision I make, and he tells me just to do the best for me and the kids. On the other hand, my mother tells me I should forgive my wife because she is human and did the mistake. She is remorseful, ready to do anything, and one mistake should not be enough to forget on 11 years of love and 3 kids she gave me. I told her immediately that it wasn't one mistake, but 4 mistakes in 1 month duration. Her answer was, "You should ask yourself why she does that. Was everything okay with you too?" I hung up immediately. I love my mom. After kids, she is by far the most important person in my life, and I would do everything for her. She saved my life when I was younger and had so many problems. If she wasn't my mother, I would be in the grave or on the street, and she is my guardian angel. But I just can't believe she could say something like that. Then my father attacked her. Why is she defending cheaters? My mother apologized immediately. She just thinks about what is best for my kids, and told me whatever I decide, she also supports. I didn't have enough energy to talk anymore. Wife's parents and her brother still don't talk with her, and actually told me that they will call her friend to tell her that they will send the remaining stuff she has in her own country to her, and that she is not allowed to enter their house anymore. If we forget all of this, the weekend was actually really good. We went with my friend's family to watch a football game. Went shopping. The kids were laughing and smiling. That's what is most important. Now, another chaos with my wife. You remember how I told you she stopped calling me? It didn't last long. I need to add a little bit of context here. My first assistant at work for the last 15-16 months is Sarah, 29. She is a great worker, professional, very smart and kind person. But she is also really attractive, and since she moved here and since she works with me, also single. I told my wife about her before she started to work with me. My previous assistant was a guy. She was okay with that, nothing special, until she saw how she looks and that she is single. Then she became cautious. Irony, Sarah would sometimes send me messages during the night, 9 p.m., and always about work, but she would wish me good night, as my wife would say, in a weird way. And my wife would be very angry and insecure about that. Irony 2.0. Then she would sometimes come to my workplace with the kids without calling me. I didn't have any problem with that, since she would do this also before, when I didn't work with Sarah. But now she was doing this firstly to see how me and Sarah would react. Anyway, with time her jealousy decreased, because I assured her nothing was going on. But she was concerned about her intentions, and she would say, "She can see Sarah is eating me with the eyes." And my wife never liked her, and was really cold whenever they two would be near each other. This Monday, we had a really important event in our company. Sarah and I have always been in contact since I took days off from work. I told her it's about personal reasons, and she wished me all the best. I didn't want to go to that event, but eventually, they told me to come. I asked Sarah if she wanted me to pick her up. I know how this sounds, but I have my reasons why I asked her. Event was in the hall in the different part of the city, and I literally needed to drive near her apartment complex to come there. She doesn't drive. I never picked her up before because of my wife. She was working extra since I am at home, and she was doing basically my job for free and never said a thing. In the end, I don't need to explain anything to my wife. I can pick up 1000 girls now if I want. I picked her up. We talked. Came to the event. We were on the same dinner table with 6 more people. I drove her back home. She wished me good night. I did the same and went home. Melody was there. I wished her good night. My kids were sleeping, and I went into my bedroom. And then I went to see messages on WhatsApp. I turned off all notifications from Viber Line, WhatsApp, Telegram because my phone is melting when my wife starts with her calls and messages. And there I saw a lot of messages from my wife and her friend. I checked messages from her friend, and basically, she told me my wife is going crazy and having a mental breakdown because someone told her that me and Sarah were really close and enjoying time together at that event. I asked her immediately who told her that, and she told me she can't tell me. My wife was saying how I changed her for younger. Irony 3.0. Smarter and more attractive model. How my kids were going to have young stepmom who will be with me the whole day because we work together and are very likely already together. I just started to laugh and said that I don't have time for this nonsense. If there is one thing that I really don't care about now and is not on my mind, then it is having any relationship with any woman now. Even if I did something and I didn't, I don't owe her shit. I was loyal more than 11 to her. And to be honest, I had much more situations where girls were approaching me thinking I'm single than guys looking approaching her. And she fucked up, not me. I went under the shower and I was just asking myself, who told her this? My wife is not close to anyone from my work. She doesn't talk with anyone. The only person that knows about my situation from work is my female coworker that recommended me, Melody. She is really close to me and she had horrible things to say about my wife after I told her everything, and she didn't say anything to anyone 100%. I just said to myself, someone from work that doesn't like me sent her message, probably from the burner account, and that's it. I called Sarah and told her we need to see each other tomorrow. And yesterday, we went for coffee, and I told her everything about my wife. She was shocked that someone could say something like that. I told her everything because of a few reasons. I expected my wife to call her and have another lunatic episode. Luckily, she didn't. I wouldn't lose my job at all if this is even true between us. But I don't want someone to tell complete lies about me. Also, why would anyone lie about her? She is sleeping with her boss, and that's why she has a job. And also, I didn't want to hear any rumor that my infidelity is the reason for my divorce, and that possibly can ruin my chances during divorce process. She told me she will tell me if she hears anything. And today, when I returned to the job, everything was perfect. My wife started to call me again every 5 minutes. She constantly cries, begs for a new chance. She will do everything. Whatever I want. She came yesterday to see kids. My sons were at football practice, but she took our daughter. When she brought our daughter back, she tried to ask me a few questions about Sarah, but I left immediately. I don't need to explain myself to her at all. But the thing I do notice about her is that she definitely lost some weight. Her friend tells me my wife refuses to eat, and bags under her eyes look like she is a crackhead. On Friday, my younger son turns 7, but he will celebrate on Saturday with his friends and other kids in our house. My wife will be there, and her being around me for a few hours is one huge disaster in the making. But I will try to stay calm because of my kids. On Sunday, I plan to confront her one-on-one about DNA results and offer her a deal about her future. So I will update after that probably. I promised myself this won't be long, but it is long. Sorry guys. Apparently, I am not capable of making a long story short. Thank you for your nice messages and comments, like always. And take care. Update 5. Hi everyone. I said I will update after I speak with my wife on Sunday about everything, but I actually already did it. Or maybe did it. It will be a long post, so feel free to skip it. If no one reads it, I'm okay. I feel better when I write this, because I am feeling the worst. Ever so, at least I can vent here. On Thursday, my wife called me to ask if she could take our daughter for a sleepover. Our daughter doesn't go to the kindergarten on Friday, so she is free. I told her she can. She came, and again, she tried a little talk with me, but I didn't want anything. She wanted to talk, but I told her to leave. But she asked me if she could talk a little bit with our younger son, since he will turn 7 tomorrow. I called him, and he came. He was standing away from her, but he was listening to her. She told him how she already bought him gifts, and how much she loves him. Eventually, she hugged him and kissed him, but he didn't respond. He literally didn't say a word and just left while she was standing there. My older son still refuses to see her, let alone talk with her. She left with our daughter and promised they will be back by 5 p.m. tomorrow. So in about 24 hours, they will be together. She was sending me a lot of pictures of how they are making pancakes, sleeping together and playing together, and also sent me so many messages saying how she regrets this is not happening with all 5 of us right now. Yesterday, Friday, my son became a grown man. My older son congratulated him. He was really happy and in a good mood. I drove them to school and went to work. While I was working, my wife called me again, asking if she could spend the afternoon and evening with our son and daughter. She assumed older son would refuse. Again, I said she can. She was texting me through the day that she planned everything, and I know she was excited. They will go eat, then they will go to the amusement park. They will drive go-kart, then go on ice creams. I liked everything. To be honest, my younger son in my eyes suffers the most with this situation. While my daughter is very young and unaware of anything, and sees her mother a lot, and my older son is very clear that he doesn't want to have contact with my wife. The younger son is very quiet and looks very confused. So I like the idea of them 3 spending time together. I specifically told her to not enter the house and wait for me because I need to talk with him first, and I need to see his reaction. I don't want to force him on anything. She agreed and told me she will wait for me. I had to stay a little bit more at the workplace, and my friend and his wife were waiting for me in my house so they could go with me to buy everything I needed for the birthday. Food, drinks, cakes, gifts. I texted my wife and told her I left my workplace a little bit late and that there is big traffic in the city, so I will be late. She told me she is close to my house, but she will wait for me. I called my friend and told him that my wife is coming. I also called Melody to prepare other clothes for my daughter and asked her what my sons are doing. Everything that happened after that I didn't see. Melody, a friend and his wife told me this, and I believe them 100%. My wife arrived with her friend and our daughter. Apparently, my daughter invited her to the house to show her something, according to my wife's friend. My friend and his wife with my sons were inside of the house then. Melody was in the backyard and stopped her from entering the house. My wife started to fight with Melody. Who is she to forbid her to enter the house with her daughter? Friend's wife heard the noise and went out. Friend's wife and my wife were friends, but she doesn't talk with her anymore after I told her what happened. She told her to calm down and to respect my decision. Wife was much more calm and kind towards the friend's wife than she was with Melody. My daughter was then calling her again from the door to come, and they again stopped her from entering the house. My wife's friend told her to wait for me in the street, and then my older son stormed out of the house, started to yell at her that no one loves her, to get out of here, that we are happy without her and Daddy is happy without you, and that everyone hates her. She started to cry and begged him to talk with her, but he was yelling like crazy at her. She left the gifts for my younger son and went with her friend in the car. Then my older son took those gifts and threw them on the street while they were in the car. My friend then put him in the house. According to my friend's wife, my wife left crying like crazy. I came home, didn't see my wife, and then they told me everything. I couldn't believe it. All my kids were always kind, nice, not spoiled, and never rude. My older son was always a little bit more connected with me, but he never ever told anything rude to my wife before all of this, and he always loved her so much. So I told him to come into my room. I literally asked him if he was normal. He apologized to me and said he couldn't listen to her anymore. I told him he should never talk like that with his mother, and that those gifts aren't for him, and that he doesn't need to apologize to me, but to his mother and brother. He started to cry, saying, I am forcing him to call my wife, and that he won't talk with her because he hates her. I was speechless. I know he needs therapy, and I will solve that really soon. He apologized to his brother. Then I spoke with my younger son. I asked him if he wanted to see his mother on his birthday tomorrow, and he said he doesn't. I asked him a few times if he was sure, and he said he is. He also refused to see gifts from her and told me to give her back everything she bought. So I called my wife's friend to tell her about this. She told me my wife is having a panic attack and struggles to breathe. After 2 hours, she called me saying that she needed to call two of her own friends because of my wife and that she is sleeping now after she took some pills. Today, when I woke up, I saw messages from my wife. She basically told me she doesn't want to live anymore. She can't live without us. And she wants to leave and leave me and our 3 kids alone. I called her and told her that I will send her pictures and videos from the birthday, but to not disturb me today, and that I will talk with both sons after this. She thanked me, and again she was saying how sorry she is. A lot of kids came on the birthday. Also friends from my older son and my daughter. So many parents. My friends with their kids. I was just looking at all those couples, how they are smiling and enjoying themselves, while I am trying to pretend everything is okay. What my life turned into. I really wanted to vomit then. I just wanted my birthday to finish as soon as possible. When Melody left, as the last one, and my kids were in the living room, opening the gifts, I went in the garage, and I called my wife. I told her to not interrupt me and to shut up. I was screaming, yelling, crying, and sarcastically laughing for about 5 minutes. And I told her so many bad things. I didn't curse all the people in the world together as much as I did her. I told her the worst things. And I don't regret anything I said to her. She didn't interrupt me, but I could hear her crying. When I finished with my part, she just said, "I am so sorry. I will do anything," and kept crying. I wanted to break my phone at that moment. Just told her to fuck off, and I ended the call. Now I am sitting in the dark bedroom, and I'm writing this. I am just asking myself, what the fuck did I do to deserve this? Is this karma for my crazy behavior when I was younger? I guess I will never know. I was always a problematic kid, good in school, horrible out of school. I was running from the house so I could be with my girlfriend. I was stealing money from the parents. My mom came up with the idea that I should start practicing taekwondo so I could release all my energy there. Boy, she was wrong. I started to fight every day, and I ended up in the police. Then I went to college. I became friends with the wrong people. I would have exams at 9 a.m., and I would stay in the casino till 6 a.m. playing poker tournaments, or blackjack, or I would just drink and go to the nightclubs with the friends and girls. Then I met my wife. She came to work in my country. Some guys had eyes on her, but she was shy and I was a complete mess, but for some reason she liked me. 3 months later, she had to go back to her country, but she decided to stay with me. She gave me almost all of her savings, so I can pay my debts after about 5 months of relationship. I really thought she was insane for doing that. I still do, but she did change my life, and I changed myself because of her. We left, about 10 months later, for Asia. I will never forget the first apartment where we lived. It was the biggest shithole I have ever lived, or maybe even seen. I've no idea how we lived there for 8 months. But we were saving money and we were really happy. Now I have a house, cars, money, and I'm not happy. I don't want to sound arrogant, but girls always says, I'm good-looking guy, in the great shape. I am working out 3-4 times per week. I have great job, career, and I know I can find new GF wife easily. But I seriously think I will never ever marry again. I will never trust anyone 100. I know this might be a temporary feeling, and that life is full of challenges, and I should be happy, because my kids, parents, brothers, nephews, friends are all healthy and love me, but I am really tired and empty. Sometimes I just want to give up, but then I remember I have 3 kids. Everyone around me expects me to be some kind of magician who's expected to do everything good for everyone around me. Everyone expects me to suffer in silence and to not say a shit. What is going through my head? Do best for your kids. Take care of your wife. Maybe she will do something to herself. Do that. Don't do that. Forgive her, go on MC. Don't forgive her. Destroy her. Forgive her because of the kids. And in some time you will love her again. Fuck her. Don't forgive her. Kids are better with you and without her. I am so tired. Tomorrow is just a day for me and the kids. Thank you all. Update 6. Hey guys, a lot of you are messaging me. Everything is all right. Firstly, thank you for your concerns. To be honest with you, I don't know what to tell you. I guess everything is okay. Since I can't sleep, I decided to write this in this late hour. I am feeling much better than in Saturday. I haven't seen my wife since last Thursday. The last time my kids have seen her was on Friday, when my son turned 7, and my older son kicked her out. She is still sending me messages and calling our daughter. Yesterday, her friend brought me an envelope that my wife sent me. It was a 9-page letter, plus 4 additional pages of her changes. She wrote a lot of that, so I will quote some of the parts. First 5 pages were basically just about our past. Literally, the timeline of our relationship. What we have been through, our best and worst moments, but how we always stuck together. Last 4 pages. I am embarrassed to say I'm sorry. I can't express how sorry I am. I understand it doesn't mean you too much, but I am really sorry. I wish I could turn the time back. Seeing you and kids hurt really makes me want to die. I should be the person to help you, not to hurt you. I failed as a mother and wife. When Jen, older son, yelled at me, I really wished I was dead. What kind of mother does this to her kids? What kind of wife does this to her husband? I understand that you will never love me like you did. That you will not trust me like you did. When you told me you made DNA tests for all of our kids, my heart broke into pieces. That was the toughest moment in my life. That moment when you told me, straight in the face, that you don't believe me since we met each other, and you will probably never believe me again. I need to live with that fact. I just want you to know that I love you. I know you don't think that, but I really love you. I would give my life now for you. I hope I can prove this somehow. I wish you could put my heart in some machine so you can get results to see that I love you. I always knew I love you more than anyone, but after everything I did, I know I love you even more than that. I understand how horrible this sounds, but this is the truth. I threw all of that for what? For a little bit of attention. I lied about you cheating on me so I can have excuses in mine and AP's eyes. Who does that? Only horrible and cruel people. I am really lost, but you are not. I wish I could tell you to be with some girl so we can be one. But the truth is, we can never be one. Whatever you do will not be the same as what I did. Also, I can't imagine seeing you with another woman. I know this is again selfish, but I do love you, and I can't accept that, and I hate myself that you don't believe me. I hate myself for whatever I say, or do you just ignore me and don't believe? I wish you broke every single bone inside me that day instead of this. I pray every day and night that you will call me and tell me to come back. I truly believe that day will come. If there is a 0.01% chance, I will believe. And I will never stop believing. I will accept whatever condition you make me return. I will sleep on the floor. I will clean, cook, wash, not talk with anyone. I will lick the floor if I need to. I just want to be near you. I will never understand why I did that. What did I achieve? I was telling Z, her married friend that knew about the affair, how I don't find a P more attractive than you. In my eyes, no one is more beautiful than you. How I love sex with you 1,000,000 times more than with him. And I still went there a few times. I am so sick. I know you don't want to hear this, but I felt like the biggest trash then, and with you, like the happiest person. And again, I still did this. Since you left me, I asked myself, was everything okay with me back then? Sure, it wasn't. But when I try to remember everything, I feel like someone changed my head, like some type of drug was inside me to do that. I could never imagine myself doing that. Not even in the dreams. And I did that in reality, and hurt the person I love the most. I really hope I will find the answer why I did this. I just hope you will not make your decision till then. You were always stronger than I was. I hope you will survive till then. If you want me to leave and stop calling, I will do that, but please, don't forget about me. Don't give up on us like I did. I know this sounds horrible, but don't give up on us because of kids and everything we went through together. I know because of this. My betrayal is even bigger, but I will do everything so we can be happy again, wherever we will be. I am ready to follow you and be there for you 1,000 times more than I was till now. You know I would do and give everything for kids, and you. You know how happy we were, but I destroyed everything. If you give me another chance, we will be happy again because of you. We will have again like we had. I will show you for the rest of my life how sorry I am, and that nothing and no one can stop my love for you. I understand you can say, AP stopped, but he didn't. I never looked at AP like I was looking at you. I never touched him like I was touching you. I never even kissed him. I would never bring him near my kids. I would never, ever tell him my secrets that I told you after a week of our relationship. I never smiled with him, but I was always smiling with you. I understand my actions tell a different story, but you were always the only man in my heart, and I will never stop hating myself for everything I did. I am so sorry for breaking your heart along with mine. This is something I will never forget, but I will live the rest of my life to be there for you and our angels in the best and worst. And I will appreciate every second with you more than ever. I love you more than anything. 2 additional pages were about her changes. She wrote this: I'm always telling you that I will do everything for you to forgive me, but I didn't actually do anything yet. Now I will make everything in my power so you can have some answers in your head and start believing me, and hopefully one day forgive me, at least in your mind, if not heart. She deleted her IG, TikTok, and will never activate them again. I can just say finally. She is trying to find a job. She has only high school. She has less than 10% chances to find the job here, even as a cleaner, but respect for the hustle. She will write a full timeline about her affair. I really don't care about this. She will not force contact with our sons, but she will go on every football practice they have and watch them. She will come to every event in the school. If they tell her to leave, she will leave. She will send them a few letters per week and will bring their favorite food, snacks, and toys a couple of times per week. Okay, I like this. She cut contact with the friend that knew about the affair and told her to not call her anymore. It's not her fault, but she can't ask for my forgiveness if she still keeps in contact with the person that encouraged her to prolong the affair. She told me she will tell friend's husband that she knows about everything if I want. I like this because I never liked that cow, and I honestly don't care if my husband knows or not. She will go on polygraph. She will answer about 20 questions about me, her, and AP, and did she ever cheat me before. She is scheduled for 2 days. I am actually looking forward to this. I checked the reviews, and it seems this agency is reliable. She will never ever leave the home without me. She says we can put the camera in our home so I can watch if she leaves. When I leave the house and I invite her with me, she will leave. If not, she will just be in the house around the kids. Yeah, this is insane. She will sign a postnup/deal/agreement that says if she ever makes any kind of infidelity, texting with unknown man, sexting, flirting, or she is giving me full custody and leaving all the assets to me. I don't even know if this is possible, especially about kids. I know for assets, it might be possible, but not so sure about kids. She starts going on IC this week, whatever. She will not use phone anymore. If she does, she will not have a password and will delete and block all male-female contacts except us, family, and 2 friends. She never had a password, and I really don't care about her contacts. If we reconcile when she drives kids to the school and then goes to the supermarket, she will share her location and video record herself in the supermarket. So I know she is not talking or meeting with anyone. Or she can order food directly to the house, and I can see on the camera that she had contact with the delivery guy. As I said, insane. She started to listen to some podcasts from the ex-cheater and will purchase some books about infidelity. I can't express how much I don't care about this. There was also some other stuff, but it was literally so crazy. Like she will sell all her clothes and use that money for something else. If there is one thing about her that I still believe in, then it is that she doesn't care about money. She never ever bought herself any expensive piece of clothes, shoes, jewelry, bags. She just doesn't care about that. So, If she sells everything, she wouldn't earn a lot. Also, she said, when she finds a job, she will buy food for herself and other things, so she will never take $1 from me. But my favorite is that she will sell her phone and start using an old phone like Nokia 3310. I would love to see that. At least she wouldn't be capable of sending me so many damn messages that fast. That's about that. Kids are okay, doing as best as they can. I have a lot of things to do at my workplace, so I'm pretty busy. As I said, my wife still sends me messages where she wishes me good day, morning, night, and asks how kids are doing. She sends me some pictures from the past or how she had dreams about some moments of us. And of course, how much she regrets and loves me. Both of my sons will start visiting a psychologist tomorrow. I hope I will find some answers after that. Maybe I will update after if she sends me polygraph results. Thank you as always. Update 7. My kids started to visit a psychologist, and it's not good. I talked with the psychologist days before their first session and explained everything to her. We went for the first time on Wednesday. After the session, she explained to me that my older son is really hurt with everything. According to her, he has hate towards my wife, his mother, but that is his defensive mechanism. On the other hand, my younger son, according to her, suffers even more. She told me she can see that he just behaves like his older brother. In his statements, she can see that he doesn't have a bad opinion about my wife, but follows my older son and talks and behaves like the older one does. She told me the next time she would like to talk with them one by one. So we went again yesterday. My older brother was the first, then my younger. Each talked for about 60 minutes. When my younger son was inside, me and the older boy went to eat while we were waiting for the younger son. I didn't want to ask him anything, but then he told me out of nowhere something like, "Dad, I don't like this woman. She is bored and tells me to cry, but I just want to go home and play with my friends." I tried to stay normal, but I started to laugh. He is really mini-me. Anyway, we went back to pick my younger son, and then I talked with a psychologist. She told me straight away that my older son will need a lot of sessions. He is very protective of me and completely refuses to even acknowledge my wife. She is stunned that they had a perfect relationship, and now that he behaves and talks like this. But she tells me he is 100% aware of what is happening, and that my wife hurt me badly, and that is his reason to be like this. She asked him if he has any desire to see her, and he immediately said that he doesn't. Because of those answers, she even asked me if I seeing some other woman. And I was YOLOTF. But then she shocked me for real when she said my younger self was in tears and finally opened himself. As we both thought, he follows my older son in his actions. Since all of this has happened, my older son was telling my younger son each day how my wife is cruel and evil and they need to support me. My younger son wanted to see her on his birthday and was sad when he saw her crying when my older son yelled at her, but didn't want to call her because he didn't want to disappoint me and my older son. He confessed to a psychologist that he misses her a lot. She told me I can call my wife next or another week so she can be in session with my younger son, and I said, that's fine. And she told me to talk with him when we come home because he feels very sad now. We came home and we talked. He told me basically the same thing he said to her. Apparently, my older son even told him a few days before his birthday to not call my wife at all, that she doesn't deserve to be around us. My younger son didn't like how my wife talked with Melody, but he wanted her to be at his birthday party. So I told him immediately that I asked him a lot of times if he was sure to not invite her, and every time he said he didn't want her. But again, he explains he didn't want to disappoint us. I asked him what he wanted. Does he want to be with her? I told him he can be with her, and I will visit him whenever I can daily. He immediately said no. He said he would like her to come back to live with us, and he doesn't want to be with her without me. I told him he can tell me his true feelings, and no one will be angry or disappointed, and he said this is how he feels. He even started to cry, so I stopped with questions and told him to calm down. Then later, I talked with the older one, and he is just one piece of mystery. He admitted that he was telling bad things about my wife to my younger son because she deserves it. I asked him immediately why she deserves that, and he responded quickly, because she hurt me. So I'm up and down with him. I don't know if he knows something I don't. I mean, he will be 9 in December. He is a very smart kid and a great student, so I agree with the psychologist that he is aware of everything. I asked him if he wanted my wife to come back, and he said no. My daughter is crazy about my wife, so no problem about her. I am in contact with my wife, but only with kids. She is begging for a new chance as always, sends long texts a few times per day. She called me today to say that her friend, not the married one that knew about AP, talked with her and he can find her job as a translator. My wife speaks perfect English and is fluent in the local language. She also reads and writes in local language perfectly, and that's very tough. So she is very excited because of this, but even more, because she would work mostly from the house. And that is the most important to her, because she can then prove me she is not doing anything except working. I didn't tell her anything about kids and psychologist. Also, on Wednesday, when we finished with the psychologist, I drove my kids to football practice. Then, I received a message from her. You look so hot in an all-black combination. I started to look around me because other parents were near me and I didn't see her. Then I noticed her on the opposite side of the practice ground. She promised in her changes that she will watch their every practice, and if our sons ask her to leave, she will leave. They didn't tell me anything, so I don't think they even saw her. All of this is positive from her. Can't lie about that. I also talked with my lawyer and asked him about that post-nup deal she told me. He said it is possible in the country where we live, since according to law, one of the parents needs to be foreigner to put infidelity clause in child custody in post-nup. I was shocked to hear this, even though I've read some positive stories about this in recent days. But then while he was telling me this, I asked myself, why the hell do I even talk about this? I don't plan to touch my wife. I don't care if she is with 5 guys now. Me and her as a husband and wife are done. Even if she comes back to my house, it will be only because of kids. So whatever. He told me papers will be ready to serve her during the next week. But he told me to take some time and think good about everything, and at the end decide what is the best for kids and myself. So that's about that. She saw our daughter today. They spent a few hours together. She told me she did an interview at the polygraph testing and will answer questions on Monday. And she already goes to IC meetings. I told her that and she started to cry a little bit, that she doesn't know what to do and she is trying everything. I told her she knows what is the one thing she was never supposed to do. And she did it, and I left. Tomorrow, I plan to talk with my family, parents of my wife, friends, and then during the week with my kids and their psychologist, and then with my wife. I will wait to see how my kids will respond when I tell them she might never come back to this house. Also, I need to see how she will react when I tell her divorce papers are ready. Then her job. I need to wait for that to see if that will happen or not because of her visa. After all of this, I will decide what to do next week. My kids are my first priority. I am still very pro-divorce, but I am open to bringing her home for some time until she settles down and realizes we are done, if my kids ask me that, or if their behavior is not good. If bringing her home will help them, I will do it. Thank you. I agreed to open our relationship because my girlfriend wanted it, but it wrecked her life. My boyfriend, 24th, and I, 27M, chose to have an open relationship after 5 years of monogamy. We had dated in high school, but when I left for college, we broke up because I suspected she no longer liked me. Years later, Mom told me that she understood I needed to stretch my wings and enjoy my life while at college. While I was away at college, her mother became extremely severe after discovering she had a boyfriend and had lost her virginity. She wasn't permitted to hang out with friends or go anywhere. And because she was financially reliant on her mother, she stayed under her mother's control even when she started college. Meanwhile, I was out dating, having fun, and trying to enjoy life, but I still missed her, even if she was at home. When we first met and began dating again, she informed me about her mother's treatment, and I told her about my college experiences. We moved in together in 2016 and have been living there ever since. Over the past year, she has expressed a desire to try new activities. I felt jealous at first, but then I understood. The first time we pondered beginning our relationship, the guy she was interested in turned out to be rather trash, so she opted against it. She recently made a new acquaintance at work and told me she wanted to spend time with him. They've been talking all the time, but they haven't had any sex yet. Meanwhile, I've been using dating apps, interacting with individuals, and attempting to form connections. However, I'm understanding more and more that I don't care about anyone else and only want to be with her. It's painful while I'm at work, and we don't see each other often during the week. Then on weekends, when I'm not working, she hangs around with him. I feel as if I've taken a back seat to this entire event, and I can't help but feel lonely and alone. Every time I tell her I'm uncomfortable, she wants to cancel everything and end our relationship. She has stated that she is aware that this is an itch that must be scratched, and that if she does not, she will be left wondering about it forever. I suppose all I need is someone to communicate my emotions to and help me work through how I feel. I have an appointment with a therapist, which should help a lot. We began our relationship on the 7th of July 2022 after 5 years of monogamy because she wanted to expand her sexual experiences after growing up in an incredibly conservative environment. There were setbacks since I'm highly monogamous and had difficulty meeting mates, but she was able to secure dates and encounters almost immediately. Things improved after I went to therapy and discovered healthy ways to communicate my emotions. Our connection remained strong, but it improved much more as I began sharing my emotions more efficiently. I ultimately met someone who was both a great friend and a fantastic sexual partner. Unlike my partner, I discovered that I couldn't have intimacy with strangers unless I had a link. And I didn't want any more sexual encounters because I grew up with a lot more freedom. My girlfriend, on the other hand, began to get jealous of my relationship with this new companion. She began interfering with our time together, contacting me frequently when I was with this person, or initiating sex with me just as I was ready to leave. This behavior began to indicate a pattern for me. Before this year, my girlfriend was extremely responsible. She handled money well, even when we didn't have much. She worked a steady job with regular hours and had started college the previous fall to advance her career. However, prior to us starting our relationship, she began to regress. It began with her spending her whole income on tattoos and piercings, which I didn't mind because I enjoy external self-expression. But then she started antagonizing her bosses, arriving hours late or quitting work early without notice. This semester, her grades fell, and she gradually stopped attending class until she had no idea when midterms or spring break were. She had no idea finals were over and the semester had ended. My girlfriend took a 2-month leave of absence from her job, stating it was for her mental health about a month or two after I began to feel closer to my new partner. When I proposed therapy, she declined. She limited her encounters to one constant guy and began spending days with him at a time. This would have been a greater red sign if I hadn't begun working 12-hour swing shifts this year. She told me she hated being at home alone, and since I was gone so much, it made sense for her to find somewhere else to be while I was at work. Despite the fact that she does not own a car or a driver's license, she has begun to use meal delivery services. This made no sense, especially since I buy groceries and keep the house supplied with food. She was wasting my money because she was not working. It started to feel like she'd lost her sense of maturity. When I brought up money problems or the fact that she wasn't doing anything at home while I was at work, she became frustrated. She'd spend the entire day lying in bed, ordering food. Whenever I tried to have good conversations about my feelings in the relationship, she would shut off. She'd reply she hadn't noticed any changes, and that I might be making things up in my head. Eventually, she quit her work without having anything else planned. This drove me to distance myself from her, both physically and emotionally, because I thought my relationship requirements were not being addressed. She noticed right away, presuming I was no longer attracted to her. She grew irritated because I stopped initiating intimacy, and the quality of our relationship had worsened. I attempted to make things right by sharing my emotions and explaining why it was difficult for me to want intimacy from her. However, she insisted that I was simply calling her a problem. We no longer have closeness, let alone cuddling. We still talk a lot, but much of it revolves around her sexual partner. I barely see her anymore. And whenever I try to initiate intimacy, she always has an excuse. She's sleepy, on her period, or anything. When she attempts to initiate sex, it is usually at the most embarrassing or inconvenient times. All of the closeness has vanished, and we haven't had sex in about 2 months. I want to talk to her about it, but every time I bring it up, she gets irritated and threatens to end the relationship or claims I'm never satisfied. She continually tells me that I am the man she wants to marry and that she cannot imagine herself with anyone else, which complicates the matter even more. My working belief is that what I need in my life is maturity, and the partner I found exemplifies that: responsible, fun, and balanced. On the other hand, my girlfriend appears to be looking for mindless entertainment and availability, and her present boyfriend reflects this. He has no personal commitments, rarely works, and is always available. Whatever happens, I do not want to leave my girlfriend. I know who she was and who I fell in love with, but I'm not sure whether I care about who she is today. We've discussed the possibility of couples therapy once we've gotten our finances under control, but she doesn't seem interested. I really don't know what to do at this point. Update 1. The same day I wrote this, she received a call from her mother, the biggest enemy in her childhood. They've had surface-level contacts since she left home, but her mother informed her that her brother was experiencing psychotic episodes as a result of years of seclusion. Her mother also acknowledged that she had realized how terribly she had raised her children and apologized to my girlfriend. This appeared to trigger something in her, and she let out a lot of resentment. She informed her mother that she was going to begin therapy because she recognized she was becoming like her and did not want to hurt others the way she had been abused as a child. I'm not sure how serious she meant it, because she was pretty emotional at the moment. However, while on break from her current job, which she started last week, she began looking for a second one. She stated that having too much free time this year had a detrimental impact on her, and she wanted to try to achieve emotional and financial stability. This is all great progress, but several people in the comments made valid points. Ultimately, I need to figure out what I truly desire. I understand that jumping from one relationship to another will not serve myself or anyone else in the long run. I've also realized that I deserve to establish limits and have a say in my own life. But I recognize that partnerships involve work, and that work must be shared. But now, it's been a few months, so I thought I'd provide an update. About a week after the initial post, I recognized that things were not improving. I discussed it with some friends, and they all agreed it was time to break up. I knew it was ultimately my decision, but after reading all of the comments, I realized I needed to take charge of how I wanted to live my life. I broke up with her and stated why. I highlighted the things I wasn't happy with and the adjustments I'd like to see if we ever decided to get back together. She sobbed, and we spoke on the phone because we were never both home at the same time. She appeared to understand my reasoning and stated she would work on herself. As our lease expired, my roommate and I searched for a new place to live. She had expected she would move in with me, which I briefly pondered. However, I decided against it, especially when she went on a rant about how she wanted to destroy my friends after discovering they had encouraged me to quit my relationship with her. Finally, I informed her she couldn't come with me. She ended up moving in with the person she had been seeing, but she remained in touch with me. She never really tried to improve herself. Instead, she would constantly moan about how bad her new boyfriend was, drawing parallels to our previous relationship. She eventually recognized that how he treated her was harsh and toxic. I pointed out the parallels between her connection with him and the way she treated me. She made a half-hearted apology, but it didn't feel genuine. I returned to treatment and have been doing well ever since. My finances are more steady than they have been in years, and I am now dating the woman I was seeing previously. This is the easiest relationship I've ever had. Our communication methods are consistent, and we communicate affection in the same way. It was surprising at first, since I had become accustomed to turbulence and dysfunction in past relationships. But dating her felt like finally having someone on my side, someone dependable and steady. It took time to break my codependent tendencies and learn that I'm entitled to my own space and freedom. With her encouragement, I resumed my interests and began going back to the gym. Reflecting on the prior 6 years, I realize how much I tolerated and sacrificed for my ex, which prompted me to lash out in fury. My therapist helped me realize that channeling my anger in that way wasn't good. So I've been working on being more productive and creative. Life now feels much more balanced and fulfilling. Anna attacks me over fake disability. I recorded and posted the assault. Now she lost everything, and her husband wants a divorce. I, 31, was born with a severe genetic disease known as EDS, hypermobility type. This sickness varies significantly from person to person, with the majority living quite normal lives, despite some discomfort and problems. EDS is essentially a series of illnesses caused by faulty collagen in the body, which causes a variety of symptoms, including joint hypermobility, which occurs when joints become so loose and unstable that they frequently dislocated or subluxated, partially dislocate. It also causes severe joint and soft tissue pain, chronic weariness, easy bruising, and dizziness due to sudden decreases in blood pressure while standing. About 11 years ago, my condition deteriorated substantially, and I had to begin using a wheelchair because walking more than 100 feet became unsafe owing to the risk of hip dislocation. In the last 3 years, I converted to an electric wheelchair because pushing a manual one was too difficult. For reasons I don't entirely understand, my aunt, 54, has a strong disdain for disabled individuals, particularly those in wheelchairs, who still have some leg mobility. For the last 11 years, whenever we were alone, she treated me like a dog. She argued that my condition was fabricated, stating that I made it up to divert attention, and because I was envious of anyone else receiving attention, particularly her. I tried confronting her, but dealing with my sickness was already stressful. I kept her opinions to myself because I'm not aggressive and don't see her very often. I didn't want to burden anyone, especially since I was already asking so much from those around me. My parents were fatigued from all of the doctor appointments, so I overlooked my aunt's conduct. I had become accustomed to her rudeness and no longer cared about her opinions until last week, when everything intensified. I went to see my aunt for our annual family dinner, which she had organized. Everything was going fine until she drank more than normal and became sarcastic at me in front of the family. Some family members confronted her, stating that her behavior was disrespectful and uncalled for. Throughout the evening, she silently fumed and stared at me. My parents noticed and kept a watch on her, but I chose to take a break from her stares by going into the kitchen on the other side of the house to take my prescription privately. My aunt followed me into the kitchen, closing the door behind her. I realized right once this wasn't good. She was obviously inebriated. I discreetly began recording the interaction on my phone. Even if I screamed, nobody would hear me because the door was closed and everyone else was talking loudly in the other room. She began by asking if I liked being an attention hog and ruining her supper by humiliating her. I carefully tried to propel my wheelchair toward the entrance while apologizing and explaining that this was not my goal. I tried to say what she wanted to hear, hoping to make it to safety. She began raising her voice, accusing me of being envious of her success and fabricating my problem out of laziness. She started calling me every name in the book and screamed rubbish at me. I began to cry, pleading with her to let me go, as I suspected she was experiencing a mental breakdown. I realized I needed to leave, but I couldn't do it in my wheelchair, so I tried to get out of it. Unfortunately, she became furious and pushed me back into the chair forcefully. She screamed that she was not finished yet, and that liars like me deserved to be given a lesson. She began punching me in the face as hard as she could, dislocating my jaw. Then she tried to drag me out of the chair, dislocating my arm, but I fought back, and she was unsuccessful. She managed to roll my wheelchair over onto its side, causing my foot to become jammed under the footrests. Fortunately, my father noticed my disappearance, as did my aunt, and became concerned. He began looking for me. Later, he informed me that I let out a blood-curdling scream that could be heard across the dining room, forcing him and my mother to race toward the sound. By this point, I was beginning to lose consciousness due to discomfort. I recall my father rushing through the door. According to what I was told, he body slammed and punched my aunt, his younger sister, to keep her down. My mother yelled for someone to phone 911, and my nephew did it instantly. My mother then untied me from the wheelchair and attempted to recall her first aid training. Meanwhile, my father forced my aunt to the floor, leaving her husband in full amazement and unsure what to do. When the police and paramedics arrived, they handcuffed my aunt. She screamed at my father, wondering how he dared to touch a woman, particularly his sister. My uncle attempted to defend my aunt, claiming they had no idea what had happened, and suggesting that I had tipped over while attempting to attack her. He stated that his wife would never do such a thing unless provoked. He supposedly said even worse things, but my parents won't tell me what. I regained consciousness at this time, most likely as a result of the severe pain medication. But everything was still blurry, because the medicine had left me disoriented. I was carried away in an ambulance, while my aunt was sent to jail. At the hospital, they discovered that I had several shattered ribs, a dislocated arm, and a dislocated jaw. The punches also resulted in a concussion, but the most serious injury was to my foot, which snapped. I had cuts and scratches all over my body, since my skin is so thin. Fortunately, none of the injuries required surgery. But due to my disease, I'll be in a cast for at least 10 weeks, followed by physical therapy. My ankle will probably be irreparably ruined. I feel guilty about ruining her life. I've received several voicemails from various numbers, all with her yelling about how I ruined her life and most likely their finances. My uncle is attempting to salvage his name by sticking by her side, but this appears to be a temporary measure since he now wishes to divorce her. A few family members are making me doubt whether I did the right thing. Therefore, I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong here. Yes, we are getting a restraining order and filing charges. The prospect of her pursuing me again is too much to take. Some folks have also puzzled how I received pain medication while unconscious. As I previously stated, I believe I recovered consciousness as a result of the pain medication, although I don't recall much owing to the discomfort. I'll ask my folks for more information as soon as I can. They're reluctant to discuss how they found me or what happened, because they'd rather bury those memories than have them haunt me. The video of the attack was turned over to the authorities and has been backed up on numerous platforms. I'm also considering suing because my insurance covers legal fees. TLDR. My aunt admitted me to the hospital and badly wounded me because she suspected I was faking my genetic illness for attention. I recorded the entire attack and shared it online when they said I was lying and attacked her. Everyone in the family has cut all ties with her, including her church. Her husband wants a divorce. So am I the moron that posted the footage and ruined her life? My parents gave me up for adoption because I was a boy. Now they've contacted me requesting money to support my sister's education. I am a 25-year-old male. My narrative began when I was 6 years old, or rather, from the moment I was born. I am my parents' third and youngest kid. We weren't rich, but my parents made enough money to support 3 children. We resided in a tiny town in an ancestral home, which helped us conserve money. My grandparents owned a farm, which supplied a substantial percentage of our food. Dad worked as a truck driver and returned home every 3 to 4 days, while Mom was a waitress. Before I was born, my parents had 2 daughters. You can imagine how I felt as the unplanned child. Of course, as a child, I had no idea what was going on. But as I grew older, I started to figure it out. Learning that I was unwanted was a difficult lesson. My parents wanted to get rid of me, but the doctor cautioned them against it, owing to potential health dangers to my mother. My mother was really interested in having a daughter. Her explanation was simple. She wanted me to avoid buying new clothes by reusing my sister's. My 2 sisters were close in age, so they could readily share clothing. They actually enjoyed it. However, when I was born a boy, my parents were extremely disappointed. They despised me for it. They dressed me in my sister's old clothes and even sent me to school wearing their abandoned uniforms. It was quite embarrassing. Although I was very young, I have vague memories of being teased for wearing a girl's uniform and having long hair. Any concerns I made were answered with a violent thrashing from my mother. I grew up in an environment filled with abuse and harsh words, much of which I didn't understand at the time. As I grew older and realized what they meant, I came to despise my parents. My father was marginally better than my mother, but because he was away most of the time, his treatment of me varied. Some days, he appeared impartial toward all three of us, but on others, he was as harsh, if not crueler, than my mother. I won't say I was a perfect child. As I grew older and became more aware of their fondness for my sisters, I began to rebel. They always got the finest of everything, while I only got leftovers. In response, I began to behave out because I blamed them for my troubles. I was frequently grounded, sometimes harshly. There were several times when I had to prepare my own breakfast and was without dinner. Consider the pain of a 6-year-old going through that. One particular episode stands out in my recollection, and I believe it constituted a watershed moment in my life. I had been brutally bullied on the playground for masquerading as a girl. When I returned home, I learned that my mother had purchased new clothes for my sisters for the holidays. In a flash of wrath, I took a pair of scissors and turned their new garments into confetti. I know what I did was wrong, and I'm not proud of it, but my actions sprung from grief, not malice. Instead of attempting to comprehend my anguish, my parents considered my actions as an unforgivable sin that demanded the worst punishment. They decided to place me up for adoption. They waited for a month, and no one wanted to adopt me. This rejection inflamed their rage even further. I was continually reminded of how useless I was and how no one wanted me. Some of the harshest comments I heard came from my mother, who said, "I wish I had done a gender check. I would never have brought him into the world." It haunts me that my parents despise me so much for reasons beyond my control. After some time, when there was no response to my adoption, my parents began discussing it with their friends and family. Dad knew someone in the next town who had a food truck with his wife. They were poorer than us yet, desired a child. They were in their late 30s and had been trying for over a decade without luck. Dad spoke with them, and they easily consented to adopt me. I recall Dad breaking the news to Mom and my sisters, and they were overjoyed to be rid of me. Dad also cautioned them that the couple was impoverished, and I might not be able to attend school. Mom shrugged her eyes and replied, "Who cares? Just drop him off tomorrow." I stood in the corner, holding the curtain. Even though I despised my family, the prospect of abandoning them terrified and pained me. My eyes welled up with tears, but I refrained from crying aloud. They were so delighted, reveling in the moment, that they didn't know I was present. When Dad realized I was crying, he walked over, massaged my back, and said, "Pack your belongings. We'll leave tomorrow morning for your new family." That was the moment I couldn't hold back. I cried out, but it went unheard. I went back to my room, packed my belongings, and prayed that my new family would be less evil. The following day, Dad drove me to the next town. I don't remember how I felt during the drive. I wasn't crying. Perhaps I was simply numb. My new family's home was small, with only one room, and they had transformed the warehouse into my bedroom. I had no complaints. At least, they had made an effort to provide me with my own area, which I had never had before. At my previous home, I slept on a cot in the corner of my sister's room with only a little closet for my possessions. Even though the new room was smaller, it was comfortable. My new parents, Mary and John, were warm and kind, but I came from a dysfunctional home and had never known love. My parents had shown affection to my sisters, but never to me. I questioned Mary and John's intentions and felt their kindness was fleeting. I tried not to become attached to them, for fear that they would forsake me as well. You know, childhood trauma. It took me several months to discover that their love was genuine and not an act. Yes, my schoolwork was disrupted that year, since my parents relocated me midterm, but Mary and John agreed to enroll me the following year. When I witnessed how hard they worked to save for my education, I fell in love with them. My adoption proved to be a blessing in disguise. My biological parents never returned after leaving me with Mary and John. Honestly, I was relieved. Here, I was treated like a boy with no shame or criticism. Mary and John worked extremely hard, operating their food truck for 14 to 16 hours per day. Their truck was parked right outside their apartment, so I was never alone. I could see them from my bedroom window, and I ultimately began spending my days at the truck, assisting where I could. When I eventually started school, I concentrated on my studies while also assisting with chores whenever I had free time. When I was a little over 10 years old, I was assisting John at the cash register, and I turned out to be fairly brilliant at math. I learned about business and accounting at a young age. After high school, I wanted to run their food truck full time, but Mary and John demanded that I finish college first. Despite their advancing age and frailty, they used their savings to pay for my schooling. I wanted to take over the company to reciprocate their generosity, but they convinced me that they could make it for a few more years and encouraged me to complete my college education. I enrolled in college to study business and accounting, hoping to make them proud. After a while, when there was no response to my adoption, they began discussing it with their friends and relatives. Dad knew someone in the next town who had a food van with his wife. They were poorer than us yet desired a child. They were in their late 30s and had been trying for a child for almost a decade, but there had been no success. Dad spoke with them, and they easily consented to adopt me. I remember Dad breaking the news to Mom and my sisters. They were overjoyed to get free of me. Dad also explained that they were poor and that I might never be able to attend school. Mom shrugged her eyes and replied, "Who cares? Just drop him off tomorrow." I stood paralyzed in the corner, clutching the curtain. Regardless of how much I despised my family, I was terrified and hurt to leave them. I had tears in my eyes, but did not cry out. They were so thrilled and enjoying the occasion, they forgot I was there. When Dad saw me in tears, he walked forward, patted my back, and told me to pack my belongings. "We'll leave tomorrow morning to join your new family." When he said this, I cried out loudly, but I realized it was not heard. So I went to my room, packed my belongings, and prayed that my new family was less evil. The following day, Dad drove me to the next town. I don't remember exactly what emotions I was experiencing, but I wasn't crying. Perhaps I was simply numb as I left the house and threw out the drive. My new family was definitely poor. They lived in a little house with only one room. They'd converted the warehouse into my room. I had no problems because they at least tried to offer me a room. I've never had my own room or bed. My sisters had a bed and I was put up on a cot in the corner of their room, with my stuff stored in a small closet. This room was smaller than ours, yet it was comfortable. My new parents, Mary and John, were loving and caring, but I came from a troubled home. I had never felt that love before. Yes, I witnessed my parents' affection for my sisters, but never for me. I used to question my new parents' intentions and assume their love was only transitory. I tried not to become attached to them for fear of being abandoned as well. You are aware of childhood trauma. It took me several months to discover that they truly loved me and were not putting on a front. Yes. My school was discontinued that year since my parents relocated me in the middle of the school year, but my new parents promised to enroll me the next year. I saw how they went above and above to save money so that I could attend school. That's when I started to love them back. My adoption proved to be a blessing in disguise. My original parents never showed up after sending me to Mary and John. To be honest, I was relieved because I was treated as if I were still a boy. Mary and John were extremely hard-working people. They worked 14 to 16 hours a day on their food truck. The vehicle was located right outside of their apartment, so I was not left alone when they were working. I could see them directly through my bedroom window. Eventually, I began spending my days on the truck, assisting them with everything I could. When I was admitted to the school, I dedicated all of my time to my studies, while also assisting them with chores when I had time. I was a little older than 10 when I assisted John at the cash desk. I was pretty adept at calculating. I learned business and accounting from a young age. After high school, I wanted to run their business full-time, but they both insisted that I finish college first. They used their funds to fund it. They were becoming too old and frail to operate a food truck. I wanted to assume their responsibilities the same way they took mine, but they told me that they could handle it for a few more years and that I should go to college. I studied business and accounting in college because I aspired to be an entrepreneur. My graduation day was the best day of my life. John and Mary were over the moon. They even asked my biological parents to attend the convocation, but they did not show up. After college, I hoped to manage the food van while Mary and John retired, but they had other ideas for me. They had acquired substantial savings and turned them up to me. This act overwhelmed me. John stated they could survive on their own for a few more years, but he didn't want to involve me in their business. He provided me with the money to start my own business. I didn't want to waste their hard-earned money, so I used my business skills wisely. I looked for a tiny local restaurant in a good neighborhood that was struggling with sales. After several rejections, I ultimately persuaded the owner to lease the property to me on a profit-sharing basis. I started from scratch, refurbishing the facility and creating a menu tailored to the likes of millennials and Generation Z. I focused on providing the greatest service to my consumers. Sales increased dramatically within a year, and I doubled my initial investment. 4 years later, I own 3 cafes in town, all of which are successful. I moved Mary and John into a better apartment and obtained a little room for myself, as I've been living with them up until then. I asked them to retire and get rid of their food truck, but they insisted on keeping it for their own satisfaction. When I left their house with my bag all those years ago, I had no idea I would one day graduate from college. But here I am running a restaurant chain in town. Fast forward to last month. It was a regular day at work. I was working at the cash register of one of my eateries when I noticed a familiar face. It seemed like I'd seen a ghost. It was my biological father. I saw him after almost 2 decades. He appeared pale and sickly. He stepped across the counter with a big smile and hugged me. I didn't say anything because the restaurant was crowded, and instead escorted him to a corner. Seeing his face brought back all the traumatic memories from my youth. I couldn't have written about my past in such depth if he hadn't reappeared in my life. He expressed his pride in my accomplishment and happiness. I stood there, stunned, unable to answer. He stated that he had been traveling by and saw John, who informed him of my success. He stated that he will bring my mother to meet me over the weekend. I remained silent, and he left shortly after. That evening, I told John that I did not want to meet my biological parents, who abandoned me because I was a boy. John and Mary were aware of my rough childhood. I wanted to flee and hide for the weekend. But Mary persuaded me to forgive them and go forward. I finally agreed to meet them on the condition that John and Mary accompany me. My original parents came to John's house, and I expected them to apologize for what they did to me. But to my surprise, they showed no sorrow. Instead, they detailed the favors they had performed for me. My mother told me that I should be grateful to them for finding me wonderful parents like John and Mary, who raised me to be successful. I was stunned. I wanted to lash out at them, but Mary took my hand and told me to remain calm. I politely replied, I am grateful to have John and Mary as parents. The entire encounter seemed awkward and uncomfortable for me. The next day, I got a call from my biological mother. I didn't recognize her voice. It was the first time she'd contacted me in 20 years. She was not phoning to reconcile. She asked for money. She stated that my father had lost his regular job and had been working on a contract basis for several years. She also lost her job since no restaurant wanted to hire a 50-year-old waitress. They were hurting financially. I inquired how much she needed. She replied, $20,000 would be sufficient. She had borrowed the money from her friends over the previous 3 months to buy groceries and run the property. Her pals now wanted the money back, but she didn't have it. I hung up the phone, stating, I'd think about it and get back. The truth is, no matter how much I despise them, I feel horrible that people are pursuing them for money. Sometimes, I think she's simply taking advantage of me. But what if they really need help? I'd feel horrible letting them go through embarrassment, especially considering I have the money. Update 1. Thank you for all of your remarks and congratulations. People have different feelings about helping my mother with $20,000. I discussed it with Mary and John. Mary was pleased that I was considering assisting my parents, but she also advised me to be cautious. John stated that it was my money, thus the decision was mine, but he shared the same concern. What if they were attempting to manipulate my emotions? After much deliberation, I chose to seize my first and only shot with my biological parents. I transferred the money to her account. It felt nice at first to aid my family despite the fact that they had mistreated me. But, as I suspected, they began to exploit me financially. So I quickly recognized I had been correct in my caution. My mother called me back a week after I had sent the money. I responded with conflicting sentiments. She thanked me for my assistance and then stated, Your sisters want to see you. When do you think you can make it? For a time, I believed they truly wanted me back in their life. Regardless of all my parents did to me, I never despised my sisters. As a child, I may have been nasty to them, but I never blamed them for what happened. It was not their fault. I often wondered if my parents abandoned me because they were poor, not because they were nasty. I informed Mom that we could meet on Sunday, and I would drive home. But she interjected and said, "Why don't we meet somewhere outside?" I didn't think much of it at the moment, but agreed. She agreed to text me the place and time. However, after the call, I felt nervous. Why didn't they want me to come to their home? Yes, it doesn't matter where we meet, but after so many years, wouldn't you rather meet your family at home than in a restaurant? Later, she emailed me information on an expensive restaurant. I didn't think about it at the time since I was still upset that they hadn't asked me home. When I got to the restaurant, they were already present. My sisters ran to hug me, and for a minute, I was overjoyed to see them after so many years. We were having fun catching up until the menu arrived. They began ordering the most expensive dishes on the menu. When they inquired what he wanted, my father smiled and replied, "Order the most costly one. My son is a big man now." That was a very petty thing to say. If John or Mary had said that, I would have been proud. But hearing it from my biological parents felt cruel and manipulative. There was little I could do. I sat there, watching them enjoy themselves, knowing full well that they were draining my money. Yes, I did pay the bill too. I had wild thoughts about ghosting them before the bill arrived, but that would have been too cruel. Right there and there, I told myself I would never fall into their emotional trap again. I stayed cold for the remainder of the evening, and I doubt anyone noticed. When we were leaving, they did not invite me home. Instead, my older sister inquired, "So where are we dining next?" I feigned a smile and responded, "Nowhere," before waving them goodbye. When I returned, I told Mary about my greedy relatives. She was shocked. Mary, a gentle and independent woman, found their behavior troubling. She encouraged me not to act foolishly again, and to concentrate on my life, rather than worrying about others. I took her advice to heart. A week later, my sisters called, but I did not answer. My mother called, but I also ignored her. It has been 2 months since then, and they have stopped contacting me. I believe they finally received the message that I do not want them in my life. Update 2. Hello everyone. Thank you for all the love. As I indicated in my last essay, I stopped responding to my sisters and biological parents after realizing they only wanted me for my money. My mother called me again recently after nearly 5 months. I noticed the phone ring and answered it on impulse. She began with a small conversation asking about me and my career, but it sounded artificial and pretentious. I couldn't stand it any longer and inquired, "What do you want?" She took a big breath and explained, "Your sisters had to drop out of college. Because Dad couldn't afford their tuition, they asked me to sponsor their college education." I flipped out. My mother urged me to calm down, saying, "They are your sisters, your family, and you should help them." I was at work at the time and did not want to disrupt my day, so I hung up. She called me back that evening. I had ignored her calls a few times, but it bothered me. I recognized that ignoring her was not the solution. When she called again, I answered. She responded, "Your sisters are really pleased to return to their college. So how are we going to handle this? Will you pay all at once or by semester? I advise you to transfer the entire sum to me, and I will handle the tuition payments each semester. That way, you won't have to worry about anything." I was stunned. I replied, "Whoa, hold on. I am not going to make any payments." She sounded genuinely astonished, as if she had not expected no to be an option. She asked, "What do you mean you won't pay everything at once?" "It's great. We can also pay in installments." I reiterated, "I'm not paying anyway. My sister's schooling is not my obligation, especially since my parents abandoned me and never followed up with me. Now you're only talking to me because you want to take my money." She erupted with rage and lost control. "Do not forget that we gave birth to you. We are responsible for your current state. Your father secured a suitable guardian for you. And now that it is time to repay us, you must accept your obligations. Your sisters and parents are your responsibility. and you must take care of them all. I had a lot to say, but I knew it would be lost on deaf, egocentric ears. So I calmly responded, yes. I owe a lot to my parents, John and Mary. They deserve all credit for my success. As for you, I am not sure who you are. None of my documents bear your names, nor do I have any images of you, so I do not think I know you at all. She began throwing insults at me, but I simply said, wrong number, lady, and disconnected up. Call me selfish, harsh, or whatever you want, but I am not going to spend my hard-earned money on my so-called family. They were never my family. They abandoned me when I was only 6 years old. And, yes, I did see some comments on my last post on why I called John and Mary by their names, rather than Mom and Dad. Actually, I call them Mom and Dad now. It didn't happen right away when I moved home with them, but as time went, and they worked hard to provide for me, love me, and get me into school, I grew devoted to them. For the sake of clarity in this narrative, I referred to them as John and Mary. But to me, they are my true mother and father. I don't call my biological parents anything because they don't exist to me.